Chapter 972. After all, who is he? Chapter 972. After all, who is he? Werther was astounded. He couldn't help but rub his eyes, wanting to confirm what he was watching was real or not. Is that our master ghost hunter? He instinctively asked himself. His face was bitter as he shook his head. Werther had followed Ghost Hunter for around 10 years. In his eyes, Ghost Hunter was mighty and bloodthirsty, who would never bow to anybody, including the chief of brutal dragon tribe. However, today, the master he worshipped was humbly submitting under Shi Yan's feet. His master had used the modest attitude to respect the other. His master had proactively given his back under Shi Yan's feet. This was a sign of submission that came from the heart. A ghost hunter like that was strange to him. Gumo's small face was stiff. She thought she was in a dream, so she bit her lower lip. When the pain came through her nerves, she finally confirmed she was in the real world. What's going on? Gumo hadn't known Ghost Hunter for a long time. However, she idolized his performance and all sort of savage deeds in the brutal dragon tribe. She was keen on thinking that he was her best match. She had never thought that Ghost Hunter would submit to anyone wholeheartedly. In her eyes, an imposing and domineering man like Ghost Hunter was predestined to step on the highest peak. He wouldn't let any force bind him. Crawling under a man's feet was impossible to her. However, it happened right in front of her, which gave her a bitter feeling. She felt sorry because of Ghost Hunter. A formidable existence like you should never submit to anyone. Absolutely never. Guamo screamed crazily in her mind. McGee slowly transformed into his human form, with blood streaming down his body. He wiped the blood trickle on the corner of his mouth, standing by Guamo and Werther. Lights weaved as his eyes, his face confused and complicated. The fierce battle with Ghost Hunter made him believe in Gumo's vision. He knew Ghost Hunter did have fame and power. This newly emerged foreign monster warrior did have the power to reach the peak of glory. Towards Ghost Hunter, he had a subtle feeling between strong warriors. Although Ghost Hunter's realm was one level lower than his, he wasn't weaker than McGee in that fight. McGee had no prejudice towards Ghost Hunter. After this battle, he had considered the latter as his fiercest rival. However, when the rival he respected submitted beneath Shi Yan's feet wholeheartedly and freely, this kind of humble head-down posture somehow shamed him. Experts living in Blackstone Island and the other life stars around became baffled. They looked at the sight with confused eyes. They had no clue of what was going on. Staying on the Flying Bird battleship, the monster troops under Ghost Hunter's commands were outraged. They looked at Ghost Hunter as if he had become a strange person to them, all having an odd countenance. They didn't know what had happened back there. Shi Yan stood on the spiky neck of Ghost Hunter, his face as calm as water. He instinctively patted Ghost Hunter's massive head and sighed distantly. I thought you had forgotten me. A servant for one day, a servant for a lifetime. Ghost Hunter's voice was husky and cold. It felt like someone rubbed a stone on a piece of metal. His voice was sharp and unpleasant to the ear. However, in Shi Yan's ears, it was so comfortable. He didn't talk loudly, but McGee, Guamo, and Werther could hear him clearly. They were so shocked, lights sparkling in their eyes as they were outraged. Swoosh! Ghost Hunter opened his mouth and spat out something. A jade token with the brutal dragon carving of the brutal dragon tribe flew out of his terrifying mouth, floating in front of Guamo and Werther. This is the war token. Please return it to the chief. From now on, I'm not a member of the brutal dragon tribe anymore. I will no longer be the captain of this squadron. That year, the chief and I had an agreement. I can leave the brutal dragon tribe whenever I want. Please explain to him. Ghost Hunter's voice was as cold as ice. It was a little bit harsh and bone-chilling. That jade token was the captain's identification card in the brutal dragon tribe's force. It was also the sign of a future elder. There were only 7 of them in brutal dragon tribe, which was significant indeed. The jade tokens in the brutal dragon tribe were the insignia of power and status. Every single one of them was so precious. People who held the jade token were all influential members of the brutal dragon tribe, and they did have real powers. Their status was high also for the other clans living in the life stars around. They could access the Great Star areas freely and enjoy the privileges of brutal dragon tribe. Werther and Guillemot were startled, their face grimaced. As Ghost Hunter returned his jade token, he had decided to separate from the brutal dragon tribe. He had helped brutal dragon tribe destroy their enemies for years. He had killed so many brutal and powerful opponents, which granted him the jade token after rounds of discussion among the elders of the brutal dragon tribe last year. This jade token represented his official admission in the brutal dragon tribe. He had finally received the approval of this strongest tribe of the monster clan. To bestow him this jade token, the chief of brutal dragon tribe had spent a lot of his efforts to eliminate the troubles that came from the majority of the tribe's elders. He didn't hesitate to use bloody methods to suppress them. Later on, Ghost Hunter earned this special glory. However, after seeing Shi Yin and talking not even 2 sentences to the man, he had returned the jade token, which he had earned through bloody difficulties. He declared his wish to separate from the brutal dragon tribe, which was like a slap on Werther's and Guillemot's face. They now had an everlasting bitter grievance in their minds. "Sir," Werther shivered as he hastily kneeled down in the air and lifted his face to look directly into Ghost Hunter's eyes. He said stubbornly, "The jade token represents the supreme glory of the brutal dragon tribe. You, sir, you have experienced countless bloody battles, stepping on piles of bodies to get it. How could you give it up that easily?" Guillemot's face changed. She was outraged looking at Ghost Hunter. Her usual soft voice was gone as she talked sharply. "Ghost Hunter, what are you doing? You know what the brutal dragon token represents? It's the supreme glory of our brutal dragon tribe." Ghost Hunter's deep green eyes were as calm as water. He looked at Werther and Guillemot, talking deliberately. "I'm not a member of the brutal dragon tribe. Before I joined the tribe, I've made it clear to the patriarch that I may leave at any time. Today, the one I had been waiting for has come. Naturally, I won't stay in the brutal dragon tribe anymore. Please tell the chief that Ghost Hunter has failed his expectations." McGee frowned tightly, looking at the jade token hovering in the air. His eyes seemed so strange. Taking a deep breath, McGee talked to Shi Yin seriously. "Bro, there are 7 brutal dragon tokens. It's like the identification card of the strongest warlords of the tribe. It represents power and glory of brutal dragon tribe. Do you understand?" The monster eyes of Ghost Hunter sparkled ferociously as he gazed at McGee coldly while hissing, "Shut up." McGee discolored, snorting. However, he was looking at Shi Yin. Werther and Guillemot couldn't help but also look at Shi Yin. At this moment, they understood that an arrogant fellow like Ghost Hunter would never mind their opinions. Only Shi Yin's words seemed to be able to bind him. This man who came out of nowhere had made Ghost Hunter submit to him. He could control Ghost Hunter's will and decision. It was unimaginable. Even the chief of the brutal dragon tribe couldn't restrain Ghost Hunter that way. Under the gaze of McGee, Werther, and Guillemot, Shi Yin contemplated for a while. He chuckled and extended his hand to pull the air. He grabbed the brutal dragon token, which represented the high-rank captain of the tribe, and studied it. He then tenderly put it on Ghost Hunter's spiky neck, speaking softly, "Ghost Hunter and I want to talk a bit." McGee, Guillemot, and Werther were surprised. They looked at him, but said nothing else, proactively flying away. Shi Yin frowned, patting Ghost Hunter's head. Ghost Hunter faced the sky and roared. His roar was like a lightning strike that could clean up and level the place. His voice shook the sky as he rocketed immediately, disappeared from people's sight. McGee, Werther, and Guillemot went down to the shore of the Black Stone Island. Guillemot was so irritated. Looking at the crowd around them, her eyes became savage, shouting angrily, "Get the F***CK out of here." Werther and McGee couldn't stay calm. Murderous auras twinkled in their eyes, looking at the onlookers with obviously evil intents. Members of the other tribes from the surrounding life stars discolored. They stooped, fleeing away like the low tide. In a short while, no one stayed. Only Ghost Hunter's troopers started to gather from the flying bird battleship, looking at Werther and Guillemot anxiously. They wanted to say something but didn't know how. Guillemot took a deep breath. Her generous breast bounced slightly as she gritted her teeth while looking at McGee. After all, who is he? Werther also looked at McGee. I don't actually know. Under the others' gazes, McGee smiled reluctantly. I met him by chance in the space crack. He saved me twice. This man is really dangerous. He's mysterious indeed. Seems like he's somehow related to Blood Devil. Blood Devil? Guillermo, Werther, and the others discolored in fright. They felt even worse as the situation had developed out of their reach. This star area had many prominent clans. The Monster Clan, Demon Clan, and Ice Clan lived here. Brutal Dragon Tribe and Evil Dragon Tribe were the two strongest tribes of Monster Clan. Blood Devil was the overlord devil of Demon Clan, so his status and power weren't less than the chiefs of the two dragon tribes. And his personal relationship with the two tribes was always good. Blood Devil was the great character of Demon Clan. In Agate Star area, he was famous indeed, and he liked to cover for his fellows. He would take revenge for even the smallest grudge. Hearing that Yin and Blood Devil were related, Guillermo was so worried that she pulled her hair instinctively, her face dark. It's really troublesome. Even if it's Blood Devil, he has no right to make Master separate from Brutal Dragon Tribe. Werther clenched his jaw, talking indignantly. My master will surely be the new shining star of the Monster Clan. He's one of the future leaders of Monster Clan. Since he got the Brutal Dragon token, he's the hotshot of our Brutal Dragon Tribe. What does that kid have to make my master submit to him? Guillermo agreed as she nodded to him, talking firmly. Yeah, it's true. Blood Devil doesn't have this right. McGee was bewildered for a while. He looked at the other two with an odd countenance. It's not my bro who subdued him. He's done that on his own, hasn't he? He requested to leave the Brutal Dragon Tribe. He said that you guys have an agreement. I think you should talk to Uncle clearly. Werther was petrified and baffled, unable to answer. Guillermo hesitated for a while, and eventually took out a sound stone. She took a deep breath to force herself calm down before connecting with her father. McGee and Werther looked at her, their faces respectful. They proactively stepped back, giving her space. That was how they showed respect to the chief. However, their eyes hadn't left Guillermo. They observed her facial expression to see what the chief of the Brutal Dragon Tribe would direct. Chapter 973, Master and Servant. Chapter 973, Master and Servant. Deep inside the Black Ocean, a massive light cage made of star energy covered Yin and Ghost Hunter, who had transformed into his humanoid form. Ghost Hunter Slight bent his head, telling Yin what he had experienced throughout those years in a low and cold voice. After Ghost Hunter, King of Demonic Insects, Holy Spirit God, and Devouring Gold Silkworm separated from Yin, they came to Heavenly Demon Mountain Range in the Vault of Heaven Sea area, and received the mysterious inheritance of the Monster Clan. They escaped the space barrier in that demonic formation, which led them to the Shadow Ghostly Prison in Agate Star area. Shadow Ghostly Prison was the most chaotic and peculiar area of the Agate Star area. Rumors said that it was the space hub that connected the Agate Star area to other star areas. It had many space channels. They had crossed one of such space channels and landed in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. Shadow Ghostly Prison was established by many primitive races of Agate Star area. Later on, many other races had joined the area from other star areas, which mostly got through the space channels. Shadow Ghostly Prison was rich, having various resources. It had many rare cultivating materials that were hard to find in the Agate Star area. Warriors had battled for heaven and earth energy and magical natural resources. Since Shadow Ghostly Prison had many strange and precious products, wars never ended there. The four peculiar existences of Ghost Hunters group had to struggle hard to survive in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. After many difficult fights, King of Demonic Insects, Holy Spirit God, and Devouring Gold Silkworm were killed. Only Ghost Hunter was lucky enough to survive until now. Eventually, he escaped the Shadow Ghostly Prison, coming to this place where monster tribes were gathered, and thus made his debut in Monster Dragon Star. Monster Dragon Star was the central star of the Monster Clan in Agate Star area. Members of the Brutal Dragon Tribe and Evil Dragon Tribe lived in the massive Monster Dragon Star. Many other powerful tribes of the monster clan also stayed and cultivated here. After Ghost Hunter arrived here, he raised a bloody reign in Monster Dragon Star. Eventually, Gu Te, chief of Brutal Dragon Tribe, recruited Ghost Hunter with his keen eyes, making him the warlord of the Brutal Dragon Tribe. He conquered many areas for the Brutal Dragon Tribe. Gu Te and Ghost Hunter had an agreement that year. He agreed to help Ghost Hunter take revenge. He would support Ghost Hunter to invade the Shadow Ghostly Prison and uproot the force that had killed King of Demonic Insects, Holy Spirit God, and Devouring Gold Silkworm. The condition was that Ghost Hunter had to join the Brutal Dragon Tribe. As Ghost Hunter wanted to take revenge for his comrades, he agreed with Gu Te's condition. After around 10 years of fighting from north to south, he had earned merits for the Brutal Dragon Tribe. Gradually, he got the approval of the entire Brutal Dragon Tribe. That was how he received a Brutal Dragon token, which represented his high status in the tribe. Ghost Hunter came to Blackwater Star this time to destroy one of the Brutal Dragon Tribe's enemies. He was about to attack a branch of the Sea Clan, which had unilaterally broken the treaty while trading with Brutal Dragon Tribe. King of Demonic Insects, Holy Spirit God, and Devouring Gold Silkworm were all dead, hearing which, Shi Yin felt totally absent-minded. A bitter grief rose from the bottom of his heart. He gritted his teeth until it generated squeaking noises, his face turning ferocious. Different images crossed his mind. He met the King of Demonic Insects and befriended the Holy Spirit God and the Devouring Gold Silkworm. All old stories suddenly emerged deep in his soul, and he couldn't get rid of them. Hearing that his old friends were all dead, Shi Yin felt like a nerve of his was pinched. His eyes became as cold as ice. This made him more placid in recognizing himself. This place was the Agate Star area, with countless clans and experts, and he wasn't the strongest. In this place, he didn't have the powers to protect his fellows yet. He was crying inwardly. The immortal demon blood in his body was boiling as if it were burning. His eyes turned garnet like an enraged beast, and he looked lunatic indeed. I will take revenge for them. Shi Yin stressed each word. Ghost Hunter nodded heavily. Master, I met your lady in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. She helped me escape the Shadow Ghostly Prison that year. Ghost Hunter hesitated for a while, his eyes cold and dark. He slightly bent his head, talking. Master's lady has become a noble of a force. She has power and force, and has also earned a title. Shi Yan's pupils shrank. My lady? Lady Xia. Ghost Hunter lowered his voice, explaining. Shi Yin was shaken. Ghost Hunter stooped and said nothing as he looked at Shi Yin, silently waiting for him to digest the news. It's Xia Xian Yin. Countless vehement memories flooded his mind. Shi Yin felt a strange and unknown pain. It was like someone had knocked down some bottles of different ingredients in his heart, as he felt so many feelings mixed together. It had been so many years. When he got the news of that person the second time, he didn't expect she would be in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. She had a force, and she had become a noble. Sweet and bitter memories appeared in his heart as he felt so low. Sitting indifferently for a while, Shi Yin took a deep breath, his face becoming maliciously resolute. For the time being, you shouldn't separate from the Brutal Dragon Tribe. You have your world, and Brutal Dragon Tribe can make you thrive. When you've reached a higher level, you will become the leader of the Monster Clan. Ghost Hunter looked at him bewilderedly. We will fight shoulder to shoulder in the Agate Star area. But we don't need to be together every moment. I'm not sure if you can grow better by following me than right now. Shi Yin pondered for a while and then explained, we will make efforts to take revenge for the three of them. You use your way, and I will use mine. Don't worry. We won't be far from each other. I'm going to the Devil Blood Star. If nothing unexpected happens, I'll stay in Devil Blood Star. I have some relation with Blood Devil. Ghost Hunter's green eyes brightened slowly. As he had been in the area for years, he knew Blood Devil. He was surprised and happy on hearing that his master and Blood Devil had some relation. At this moment, you should stay with the Brutal Dragon Tribe and accumulate your force. You should make efforts to gain the powers of the Monster Clan. Shi Yin's face was calm and cold like water. I will go my way to accumulate force. In the future, We will be the main forces of the agate star area. I strongly believe that we can swagger here and there in this high-level star area in a not-so-distant future. I'm on it, Master, Ghost Hunter nodded quietly. You continue to stay and work for the brutal dragon tribe. I'm heading to Devil Bloodstar to arrange stuff. It's the best if you can conceal our relationship. Since the chief of Brutal Dragon Tribe trusts you, he won't change his mind. Yin contemplated and continued, McGee and I have a good friendship. Evil Dragon Tribe is also one of the strongest forces of the Monster Clan. If you can become the leader of Monster Clan in the future, Evil Dragon Tribe will be one of your powerful hands. You should try to get them on your side. Ghost Hunter nodded again. The two of them discussed undersea. After a long time, they came up with an agreement. Before Yin left, he had a premonition. He thought, then flickered his mind. Drops of scarlet, immortal demon blood flew out like jewels, filled with pure soul energy. A magical connection that could cross all space distances strongly elongated towards Shadow Ghostly Prison. A familiar aura transmitted from Shadow Ghostly Prison fell into his sea of consciousness, heading towards the deep area of his soul. In the Shadow Ghostly Prison, several hundred massive battleships were anchored above a giant asteroid. Sitting on a pink crystal throne atop one of those gigantic battleships was a woman in a brilliant gown. She was holding a glass, her deep and beautiful eyes looking at the endless star sea while being absorbed in her thoughts. Her gorgeous long dress was beautified with jewels. Exquisite and precious flowers were embroidered at the hem of her dress. She let her flawless legs bare, wearing only 2 blue crystal anklets. The energy from her anklets had a tremendous fluctuation, adding to her elegant beauty. 3 pagans kneeled by her, reporting with the logbooks they were holding. They all looked humble. The beautiful woman took a sip from her blood-like wine glass. The red color of the wine gave her pink lips moisture, making her look like the most beautiful blooming flower. However, her crystal-clear, diamond-like eyes were hiding some sadness. Yet, her indifferent and cold bearings had subdued the 3 alien clansmen in front of her. They didn't even dare to look up at her. They were modest, trying to explain her furthermore. Suddenly, the beautiful woman seemed to feel something. Her gorgeous eyes sparkled dazzlingly while her flawless body shivered. She couldn't help but jolt up from her seat. Her jade-like feet stepped on the precious pink throne, alluring people's souls. She looked in the general direction of the black water, star far away as the golden tint on her face vanished slowly. The red wine in her glass swirled for a while. After a long moment, she was thrilled, bowing her head and whining, You have finally come. I've been waiting for you for so long." The joy she couldn't hide in her face had baffled the other 3. They were indeed surprised. Drops of immortal demon blood evaporated in the light cage as Yin opened his eyes. He was stirred up, mumbling to himself, "You're here." Ghost Hunter sat quietly and indifferently like a rock next to Yin. He just looked at his master, saying nothing. "Let's go." After a while, Yin got up, wiping out the light cage. Both of them shot out of the seabed, heading north of Blackstone Island. On Blackstone Island, Guillermo, Werther, and McGee were longing for them, their faces all odd. "Sir," as soon as Werther saw Ghost Hunter, his straight back bent while he lowered his head to show his respect. "Ghost Hunter, my father sent a message saying that he doesn't want you to separate from Brutal Dragon Tribe. He said that no matter what old stories you have, he won't ask a thing. As long as you stay with the Brutal Dragon Tribe and keep the Brutal Dragon token, you're a warlord of our tribe." Gumo's small face was serious as she continued. "My father said that this time when you go back to Monster Dragon Star, he would give you a life star. You will have the complete authority over it." Ghost Hunter wore an impassive face. Facing these people, he was as cold as the rigid ice. He seemed to not have any emotion. After Guillermo finished, he just nodded. Guillermo and Werther were cheered up. "Thank you, sir. You didn't abandon us. Thank you for your favor." The monster soldiers under Ghost Hunter's command kneeled down, shouting crazily. Their voices shook the black stone island. Ghost Hunter was still indifferent. "McGee, I want to go to the Devil Blood Star. See you later." Yin nodded to McGee while chuckling. Do me a favor. Do not compete with Ghost Hunter. He's the closest friend of mine. How dare I quarrel with him? McGee smiled miserably. However, he became cheered up all of a sudden. Our monster dragon star and the devil blood star aren't far from each other. I'm going to find you later. If you need me, you can always come to Monster Dragon Star to find me. Sure. Yin agreed seriously. He smiled at Guillemot, Werther, and then gazed at Ghost Hunter for a while. Then, he soared up into the sky, tearing the atmosphere like a lightning strike while heading to Devil Blood Star. Ghost Hunter lifted his head looking at Yin disappearing. Afterward, he shouted at his troopers with a brutal face. Work! Werther and many soldiers of Monster Clan replied to him grumblingly. Their murderous aura rose violently as they were about to jump into the sea to eradicate a branch of the Sea Clan that had deceived the brutal dragon tribe. Chapter 974, Potion and Tool Pavilion. Chapter 974, Potion and Tool Pavilion _. The vast galaxy had countless shining stars. The star areas opened infinitely. Sometimes, battleships flew rapidly like shuttles or lightning. Yin sat cross-legged on a small meteorite, closing his eyes to feel Earth and heaven energy changing. His meteorite was moving like an electric light towards the general direction of Devil Blood Star. Rolling energy transmitted to this asteroid through his feet made it move forward. Shortly after, Yin opened his eyes and exhaled slightly. Touching the fantasy sky ring on his finger, an old, yellowed book flew out. It was the ancient book that they found from the mysterious city in Old Orchid Star. It wasn't rotten after being buried for tens of thousands of years with the city. This book was written in unknown, tadpole-like characters. Yin didn't know if this kind of language belonged to any race. He used to spend time studying this book. However, he couldn't figure out any mysteries of these ancient tadpole characters. He had kept this book in his fantasy sky ring for a long time afterward. Lately, when he was trying to sense the changes of earth and heaven, he suddenly felt the tadpole words in the book seem to revive. Opening the book and holding it in his hand, Yin focused and observed. Yin saw the tadpole scriptures, and they seemed like living creatures. They slowly wiggled on the cover of that ancient book. It looked strange and mysterious indeed. Deep in his eyes was astonishment. Yin quietly released a beam of energy, sending it to the cover of the ancient book to see if he could find something. However, as soon as he had sent his energy into the book, the tadpole characters stopped moving. They quieted down and stayed still like they were dead. Yin let out a low scream in surprise. He pulled himself together, frowning and pouring more soul consciousness into the book. His sea of consciousness was suddenly disordered. Flows of his soul consciousness entangled chaotically, numbing his brain. Looking at the ancient book, he saw the tadpole words move quickly. They looked like many lightning strikes crossing the page. Staring at the ancient book, Yan's sea of consciousness became more chaotic and his consciousness blurred. After changing his face slightly, Yin retrieved his soul consciousness. While his mind flickered, he put a flow of confining space power into the book. The book was sealed for the moment with space power. All the tadpole characters were blocked. They couldn't move anymore. He was skeptical, retrieving the ancient book into his fantasy sky ring. Yin lifted his face to watch the immense star sea. He closed his eyes and was absorbed in his thoughts. A massive battleship around 5,000 meters long was moving not far from him. It was entirely black, and it seemed to be made of some black ink metal. This battleship had several hundred barrier layers. On two sides, it had many flagpoles with silk banners drawn with various types of utensils like swords, sabers, containers, or war chariot. The massive battleship moved forward inaudibly in the dim-lit star sea. It had no beam of extra energy sent to the environment. It was also heading to Devil Blood Star like a ghost. Inside a secret chamber in the battleship was an elegant lady in her loose and long dress. The sleeves and legs of her green garments were all extra loose to hide her mesmerizing body. She was clapping her hands in front of her chest, her slender fingers like scallion making hand seals. Her eyes were deep blue and calm like the ocean. Her long brown hair was pinned up into a gorgeous bun, held by an emerald hairpin. She looked elegant and noble indeed. She had a pair of crescent moon crystal earrings. She wore 5-colored jade rings around her delicate wrists, which looked like lotus roots. She also had some small but delicate accessories hung on her waist. All these ornaments made her lively and incredibly charming. A corner of the yellowed sheet of paper she was holding was revealed, which had scriptures with characters that looked like tadpoles. Her willow-like eyebrows above her deep blue eyes furrowed as if she was mulling on something. A white light seeped from her fingers as she concentrated her soul to recognize something. After a while, she stooped and sighed, shaking her head and whining. I'm afraid it was just a hallucination. The canon had been lost for tens of thousands of years. How could I sense it for that glimpse of time? Thump, thump, thump. Someone was knocking on her chalcedony door, which was inlaid with many strange symbols. The one who was knocking seemed to be very careful not to bother that woman. The woman was still calm and natural. Her flawless hands retrieved the light and carefully put the sheet of paper away. She relaxed and then called, "Come in." An old woman with ditch-like wrinkles throughout her face bowed and went to the center of this battleship. "Young elder, we will arrive at Devil Bloodstar in 3 months. Do you want to stop somewhere along the way?" The woman shook her head with a smile. "No, we shouldn't stop. We've delayed a long time already." The old woman nodded. She immediately excused herself. Wait a moment. The woman wanted to say something, but she didn't. Instead, she whispered, "Aunt, and lately, I seem to sense a gleam of—" "What?" The old woman looked at her with surprise. The lady shook her head. "Nothing." The old woman smiled lovingly. She didn't mind and just bowed before carefully leaving the place. She seemed afraid of accidentally making noise. She also closed the door with extra care. The woman in the room ridiculed herself. How could I sense the canon, which was lost for tens of thousands of years? It's just a hallucination then, she instinctively assumed. Shi Yin was riding a meteorite, flying towards the general direction of Devil Bloodstar. All of a sudden, he lifted his head, looking forward with a surprise in his eyes. In front of him was a battleship inaudibly moving at breakneck speed. If it hadn't come close enough to be visible, Shi Yin wouldn't have known that a battleship was close to him. Usually, the battleship would use high-quality divine crystals as fuel. Hotshots would guard and patrol the battleship. Both the divine crystals and warriors had energy fluctuate from them. Within a specific distance, the other warriors could sense them easily. However, this battleship emerged in his sight, while his soul consciousness reported nothing to him. It was indeed magical. Frowning, he released a beam of soul consciousness, extending towards the battleship. Spark! A fire sparked from the barrier covering the battleship. Although it was dim, it had stopped Shi Yan's sensing. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He looked at the battleship with astonishment. Evidently, that battleship wasn't normal. It was several times bigger and had barriers that could prevent soul consciousness. The barriers had shut the entire battleship, including people inside. This protection made the ship move inaudibly without noise caused by the engine or energy fluctuating from warriors. It was like a spooky ghost drifting in the dim-lit universe. This was a high-class battleship, indeed. In the case of war between star areas, this kind of invisible battleship could perform extraordinarily. At the moment fire sparked from the barrier outside the battleship, a vague silhouette came out from a dark area of the ship. He looked at Shi Yin from a distance as if he was assessing the man. After a while, that person crossed the barrier and emerged visibly from the ship. He was a lanky, middle-aged man with a lot of disgusting smallpox-like filled bumps on his face. He was a little hunched, squinting to observe Shi Yin better. The meteorite under Shi Yan's feet was still moving quickly. It slowed down and approached the battleship. While the lanky man observed Shi Yin also watched him. First sky of ethereal god realm, cultivates thunderbolt power Upanishad, newly formed ethereal extent. Information regarding this man's competence emerged in Shi Yan's head. He didn't know why, but after his soul altar was refined and became crystal clear by the effects of soul refining fluid, He was able to easily understand the realm and kinds of power Upanishads of the warriors around him. The middle-aged man, whose face was filled with smallpox bumps, stared at Shi Yin for a while before asking proactively, "Little brother, where do you want to go?" Shi Yin was surprised, as he didn't know what the other had in his mind. He hesitated for a while and then smiled casually. "I'm heading to Devil Blood Star." The middle-aged man was surprised. He smiled, waving at Shi Yin. "We're going there, too. Do you want to take a ride with us?" Shi Yin was touched. He considered for a while. After he had left Blackwater Star, he had been racing like a lightning strike, which had consumed a lot of his energy. At this moment, he had used half of his accumulation to fly. If he could have a place to rest and recover his energy, it would be much better. However, since Shi Yin couldn't identify the other's intention or identify, he was a little bit hesitant. "We're from the Potion and Tool Pavilion." As he could see Shi Yin's hesitation, he explained. Shi Yin's eyes brightened. The Potion and Tool Pavilion was a unique force in Agate Star area. It was established by top alchemists and blacksmiths of Agate Star area. Most of the pellets, war chariots, battleships, and various kinds of containers were manufactured and sold by this organization. Potion and Tool Pavilion had never participated in racial battles between forces of Agate Star area. They were the simplest businessmen and businesswomen who had focused only on refining medicines and weapons. They had maintained good relationships with great clans everywhere. Battleships and war chariots that AI Fu got in Broken Star City were manufactured by Potion and Tool Pavilion. Divine Light bought them and transported them to Broken Star City in Far West region. They earned profits from the price difference. Potion and Tool Pavilion had only cooperated with the strongest clans in Agate Star area. They wouldn't bat an eye on the small forces. Although AI Fu of Broken Star City was famous in the Far West region, he wasn't strong enough to do business with Potion and Tool Pavilion. Businessmen like AI Fu could only buy battleships and war chariots made by Potion and Tool Pavilion through bigger traders like Divine Light. This special force always stayed neutral. Since they had never engaged in any competition besides doing business, no one had ever known its real competence. However, no strong forces or clans in Agate Star area dared to offend the Potion and Tool Pavilion, since medicine, containers, and other products of this organization had taken account of almost all goods sold in the entire star area. At the same time, it had maintained good relationships with big clans. Once any clan broke this relationship, even if they were so rich, they wouldn't be able to purchase any medicine or battleships. The Potion and Tool Pavilion had a good reputation. They always kept a good relationship with their customers. Even the most fiendish pirates of Agate Star area would never initially provoke them. Their battleships could travel safely between star areas. Even in the Shadow Ghostly Prison, which was the most chaotic area, they could cross it smoothly and safely. The Potion and Tool Pavilion was indeed a unique organization in Agate Star area. The other forces always liked them the most. Hearing the others say that he belonged to Potion and Tool Pavilion, Shi Yin, who was about to move alone, relaxed, nodded, and smiled friendly. "Oh, thank you very much." Then, when the middle-aged man opened the barrier, Shi Yin jumped with him onto the massive battleship and landed on the main deck. The ship's deck was cold and firm. It was built of blocks of strange metal. Each block was about 10 square meters. Many security guards of Potion and Tool Pavilions scattered here and there, controlling powerful energy artilleries. Although they saw Shi Yin landing, they didn't change their faces and continued guarding their positions. "Brother, you are cultivating space power, right?" The middle-aged man smiled, inviting. "Are you interested in joining our Potion and Tool Pavilion? We always welcome warriors with space power." Shi Yin was astounded. He now understood why this man invited him on board. He knew that Shi Yin cultivated space power Upanishad. Chapter 975. Fu Wei. Chapter 975. Fu Wei _ "Oh, I'm sorry. Currently, I have no intention to join any force." Shi Yin shook his head and denied resolutely. However, he asked earnestly, "How did you know I was cultivating space power Upanishad?" Agate Star Area was a high-class star area. It had an explicit category for powers Upanishads. According to their description, They had hundreds of power Upanishads, which could outnumber the number of clans in Agate Star area. Space power Upanishads could be deemed a heavenly one. It was hard to obtain and cultivate. Warriors couldn't find any scripture or inheritance source related to this power Upanishad in big auction houses. Warriors who could obtain space power Upanishad all had it by lucky chance. There was no school that taught this power. Also, no precedent of taking this power from a source of power Upanishad inheritance was recorded. It was not easy to recognize the special powers Upanishads even when a higher realm warrior tried to sense the lower realm warrior. Oh, it was when your soul consciousness contacted our barrier. Haha, our barrier is a bit special. It can distinguish kinds of power. The middle-aged man explained that barrier can identify the nature of power and soul consciousness in the real realm of the warrior. Little brother, you're at second sky of original God realm, but you're still pretty young. Your innate endowment is rare and excellent, indeed. Shi Yin was shaken as he had another level of understanding of Potion and Tool Pavilion's awesomeness. Brother, you may want to consider my offer a bit more. People with space power are rare. It's the same in Agate Star area. Brother, warriors at your level are also extremely rare and precious. Pausing for a while, he continued, anyway, our Potion and Tool Pavilion has an elder cultivating space power Upanishad. He has reached third sky of ethereal God realm. Our Potion and Tool Pavilion also has many books and scriptures about space power Upanishad. We got them through our channels. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Space power Upanishad books were extremely rare and precious. It meant nothing to other warriors, but to warriors who cultivated space power, it was hard to describe how precious they were to them. At least in Grace Mainland and Raging Flamestar R, he had never seen any book about space power Upanishad. Shi Yin knew the value of those books to him. How much do you want for them? Hesitating for a while, his interest was aroused. He was a little excited. Shaking his head with a smile, the middle-aged man with smallpox bumps looked at him deep in the eye and explained, "No, we don't sell them. No matter how much you pay, we won't sell them. If you didn't cultivate space power, I wouldn't babble about it. Of course, if you join us, little brother, we will let you assess them when you have a specific position." Shi Yin was surprised and he frowned in silence. Well, you can consider a little more. The middle-aged was generous. He said seriously, our Potion and Tool Pavilion has strict rules in recruiting. It's not easy to join us anyway. Once you've entered Potion and Tool Pavilion, you are aloof to other forces in Agate Star area. No other forces can threaten you. You can focus on your cultivation, and you can use our materials and resources freely. To many warriors, joining Potion and Tool Pavilion is always a big dream. Brother, think about it. You don't need to make a rash decision immediately. After he said that, he nodded and smiled at him before leaving. Shi Yin sat down quietly. Looking at the immense star sea, he kept silent. In the center of the battleship, the ring of the beautiful lady radiated strangely and unceasingly. Ancient and shattered books were lined up in front of her. She was holding one of them and reading it dedicatedly. The old woman hunched, standing by her and looking at her with a loving countenance. She didn't disturb the young girl. Chirp, chirp. A series of low chirping sounds came from a small octagonal formation on the left side of the young woman. That octagonal formation was made of unknown materials. However, it looked like a cattail leaf cushion. At this moment, it was emitting white light. The woman dropped the book she was reading and frowned at the octagonal formation. A thought shot out, pouring into the eye of the formation. Quickly, many books flew out of that formation. Those books were written in many languages. Apparently, they weren't from the same race. Her delicate fingers flickered and gathered some books. The octagonal formation dimmed out, resuming its original state. Young elder, all the books you've required to be sent from the headquarters are related to the canon. Are you going to find it? The old woman kept silent for a while. Seeing her master stop reading her books, she said softly, the canon has been lost for tens of thousands of years. There are many rumors about it. Records of the canon are vague. There is no direction that leads to it. Many elders of our pavilion have tried for many years. Young elder, If you invest your effort into this, I'm afraid you're doing things in vain. The woman arranged her shattered books neatly. She sighed reluctantly. Right, I have no clue. I've read 32 documents related to the canon. Anyway, each of them is vague. They say that the canon is mysterious, but none of them mention the mysteries of it or why it has gone missing. Anton, you've been in the pavilion for thousands of years. Do you know anything related to the canon? The old woman named Anton frowned, sinking in her memories. After a long time, she said softly, tens of thousands of years ago, our pavilion master appeared in Agate Star area. With the canon, he established potion and tool pavilion, gathering alchemists and blacksmiths from Agate Star area. He set up rules and made potion and tool pavilion a neutral force that stayed aloof from other forces. After the first pavilion master established potion and tool pavilion, he grew old and deceased after hundreds of years. His soul vanished. After his death, people started to fight each other for the master position. The canon went missing in that chaotic time. Rumor says that one of the elders took risks and took it away. That elder disappeared from that time. We have never figured out where he had gone. Although the second pavilion master won and claimed the throne in glory, he had used all his means and efforts to search for the canon in vain. It has been dozens of thousands of years, and we now have the fourth pavilion master. Potion and Tool Pavilion has earned a special position in Agate Star area. We have insiders in every corner of the star area, but we still have no clue of the canon. Our pavilion has spent tens of thousands of years fruitlessly. I think young elders shouldn't waste your effort in this. There is no guarantee that you can find it if you invest more efforts. Everything depends on fortune. Anton looked at the young woman gingerly. She had kindly advised her as she was afraid that the young woman would spend time in this hopeless matter. She had watched this young lady grow. She knew her innate talents and competence. She was a candidate for the position of the fifth pavilion master. If she focused, her party could reach the peak of glory through this young lady. They would have supreme power in the pavilion. But if the girl had set her mind on something vague like the canon, it could be a flame that burns down the hope of precursors in their party. The first pavilion master said in his will that the one who had the canon would become the new pavilion master. If we found the canon, it'd be much easier, said the young lady softly. Anton shook her head miserably. It's not that easy. If we could find it effortlessly, the canon would have been found already. The young woman kept quiet, sighing inwardly. She said nothing else. Looking at the shattered books, she suddenly felt bored. Young elder, Fongan invited a junior on board. Fongan said that he cultivates space power Upanishad. His attainment is quite remarkable. A warrior with space power Upanishad? The woman's brow twitched. She seemed interested in the newcomer. Uncle Duo asked us to pay attention to warriors who cultivate space power. If we meet someone like that, we must try to recruit him. Uncle Duo is at third sky of ethereal god realm, and his attainment in space power Upanishad is high. However, he can't cover all the small formations. He needs an assistant. Does that man meet Uncle Duo's requirements? According to Fongan, he's suitable for this position. Anton nodded, but he said he wasn't interested. The young woman was surprised. Our offers aren't good enough? Did Fongan tell him we have books of space power Upanishad, and that we have Uncle Duo, a third sky of ethereal god realm warriors who cultivate space power? He told him. Anton beamed a forced smile. I'm going to talk to him myself. The young woman stood up. Her hand drew a curve in the air, and the books disappeared into the ring on her bright-skinned wrist. She got out of the center cabin of the battleship, sauntering towards Shi Yin. In a remote corner of the battleship, Shi Yin was closing his eyes, concentrating on recovering his energy. Energy in the divine crystals he was holding was drawn gradually. He suddenly retrieved the divine crystals and lifted his head to look. A lady wearing a loose dress, which dragged along on the ground, and small accessories, was walking towards him as if she was a fairy gliding in the air. His eyes suddenly sparkled with bright light as he observed the small accessories on her body. He was astounded indeed. Shi Yin was also a blacksmith. His level in forging things could save him from embarrassing himself. So he had some keen eyes in this aspect. The young lady wore dozens of small items such as jade hairpins, rings, some pieces of jade embroidered on the hem of her dress, and more. Each of them had hidden energy moving inside. Shi Yin was sure that they were fabricated exquisitely with complex formations and barriers. Sensing for a while, Shi Yin was sure that the dozens of small accessories on her body were all secret treasures at divine grade. This discovery frightened him. He became stern. He didn't know what status this wealthy woman held in Potion and Tool Pavilion, but the guards along her way had shown her respect as if she was the commander of this battleship. Shi Yin became more cautious. "I'm Fu Wei, the youngest among the 12 elders of Potion and Tool Pavilion." The woman came agilely. She introduced herself tenderly. While she was walking, her accessories jingled like a murmuring stream in the mountain. Her eyes were as deep and blue as the ocean. Shi Yin stood up quietly and nodded to her. "I am Shi Yin. On behalf of Potion and Tool Pavilion, I officially invite you to join us. As long as you nod your head, I'll arrange everything properly for you. I'll appoint you an assistant to a warrior who is at third sky of ethereal god realm and cultivates space power Upanishad. You will be able to access all books and scriptures about space power. Lord Duo will also teach you the essence of space power Upanishad. What do you think?" Fu Wei extended her olive branch to him. She was speaking softly but seriously to him. She was confident that Shi Yin wouldn't turn her down. "I'm sorry. I don't want to join Potion and Tool Pavilion," said Shi Yin calmly, shaking his head. Fu Wei was astonished. Chapter 976, Devil Blood Star. Chapter 976, Devil Blood Star _ The center of the unknown, mysterious power Upanishad had many different bright currents of powers Upanishad. They looked like energy rivers crossing and flowing around the world as they followed some kind of movement principles. Two souls were wandering in there like ghosts. They swayed and moved unconsciously and aimlessly. One of the two souls would stop by an open space door. Then, it would inch forward strenuously between the currents of fierce space energy. They were Shi Yin's host soul and co-soul. Since he had escaped the space crack, every time he meditated to understand his powers Upanishad further, his co-soul would be directed to that strange area. A warrior who was fused with heaven flames and occupied the origin could enter that place to study the true essence of his or her powers Upanishad. Thus, after his soul had been washed crystal clear, he could go to this place simply as long as he flickered his mind. He could stay in the center to perceive a deeper understanding of his powers. However, his body was still sitting on the deck of Potion and Tool Pavilion's gigantic battleship. He sat impassively as if he didn't have a soul. No soul energy rippled or fluctuated from him. Fu Wei was the owner of this impressive battleship. She was the youngest elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion. Shi Yin's objection had failed her, but she didn't keep it in her mind. However, she was curious about Shi Yin. Potion and Tool Pavilion was the most special force of Agate Star area. It stayed aloofly from other forces. However, it was welcomed and favored by dominant forces and mighty clans. This organization had accumulated an enormous fortune that even Fu Wei didn't completely know. The status of Potion and Tool Pavilion in Agate Star area made countless warriors try their best to find a way to join them. Fu Wei always thought that no one would reject the pavilion's invitation, especially a warrior cultivating space power Upanishad. They had books of space power Upanishad in their library. They had the strongest warrior who cultivated space power at third sky of ethereal god realm. They had all sorts of support to help warriors cultivating this power. Shi Yin denied her offer. Fu Wei couldn't understand it at all. She didn't know Shi Yin's identity either. Potion and Tool Pavilion had ears and eyes everywhere. They knew everything that happened in every corner of Agate Star area. Potion and Tool Pavilion had a detailed list of hotshots of all clans and forces, even the list of potential experts. Since Fu Wei was skeptical, she used the satellite eyes of her Potion and Tool Pavilion to search. However, she couldn't identify Shi Yin. This discovery had baffled Fu Wei even more. A bright blue mirror hung on the central cabin of the battleship that projected Shi Yin's image. He was idly sitting cross-legged. There was no sound or energy fluctuation around him. Fu Wei's crescent moon brows furrowed. Her beautiful face mulled on her thought, but still, she looked mesmerizing. The old woman she called Aunt and was standing by her. She was a little hunched. She also looked at the cold, stern, young man in the mirror skeptically. After a while, she whispered, "This man came from an unknown origin. Even our satellite eyes couldn't identify him. It's a bit over our estimation. Young elder, do you think he's from another star area?" Fu Wei woke up from her contemplation. Her blue eyes twinkled magnificently. She cried tenderly, "It's possible." Aunt An looked a little shocked. Shadow Ghostly Prison is the space hub. It has many unstable space channels. If he comes from another star area, it's possible that he came here through Shadow Ghostly Prison. Pausing for a while, she smiled and suggested, "Do you want to start from there?" Fu Wei shook her head. "No, it's not necessary. Although Lord Duo wants to find an assistant quickly, he has rejected our offer. We don't need to force him. It's tough to deal with unidentified people. If he does come from another star area, it may be harmful to us if we offend him." "Yes, right," Anna nodded. "But it's regretful anyway. It's hard to find a suitable candidate. But he doesn't put our potion and tool pavilion in his eyes. Sigh, I don't know when we can meet another warrior using space power." "We're about to arrive at Devil Bloodstar." Fu Wei rose one of her delicate fingers, touching the void. The bright mirror floating above her head shrank into a piece of broken jade. It was hung on her generous hip. It became an everyday accessory. "Oh right, we're about to reach Devil Bloodstar." Anton smiled and bent her body slightly. "I'm going to arrange things." She immediately left with caution. Fu Wei didn't answer. She mulled over her thoughts that the other didn't know. Boom! A violent shake came from the bottom of the battleship. The ship trembled hard before it could steady. Shi Yin woke up from his fairyland trip-like cultivation. The two souls returned to his soul altar. He looked at the guards but said nothing. He stood up and went to one side of the deck to take a look. In front of him was an endless forest with towering, ancient trees. Earth and heaven energy here was as thick as cotton clouds that naked eyes could see. They drifted in the sky, creating a sea of energy. The dense demon chi that the soul could recognize fluctuated everywhere in this forest. It swayed continually like the seaweed in the sea. The gigantic battleship landed stably. The wet ground suddenly cracked and members of Demon Clan living underground emerged. They seemed to have received the news earlier. They were calling and cheering to welcome young elder Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion. War chariots about a few dozens of meters long flew out from the massive battleship. Their engines hissed in the void. They aligned like asteroids in the sky, operating in a general direction. Each war chariot was filled with piles of exotic cultivating materials. Potion and Tool Pavilion came to Devil Bloodstar this time to transport cultivating materials that they had ordered. Since the quantity was enormous, Fu Wei had delivered the order personally to show respect to Blood Devil. Besides her massive delivery, Fu Wei also came to do accounting and further discuss with Blood Devil for their future business. Potion and Tool Pavilion had a cumbersome structure. The elders of the pavilion had followed different forces. Fu Wei was the representative for one of the forces. Blood Devil was one of their important customers. If they could form a good relationship with Blood Devil, it would be critical to their force. Looking at the war chariots flying away, Fengyan with his smallpox bumps came to Shi Yin. He beamed a professional, businesslike smile. "Little brother, our young elder has advised us. If you change your mind, you can contact Potion and Tool Pavilion at any time. We will treat you well." Shi Yin didn't change his countenance. He smiled, nodded, and said, "Thank you." He jumped up, flashed, and left the battleship to another area of the forest. Fengyan looked at Shi Yin disappearing and sighed reluctantly. Oh, he was such a good seed. A huge meteorite was flying quickly toward the border of Agate Star area. The Giants, Phalon, and Leona's team were based on two sides of the rock. In the vast universe, this rock was moving fast unceasingly like a meteor. In the center of the meteorite sat the mother formation of the mother and child sky linking formation that Na Xian had brought from Broken Starfield. Next to the formation was a pool where thousand-fold lotuses were floating. This pool was covered by a beautiful five-colored cage. The meteorite didn't have earth and heaven energy. The giants, Pavilion, Leona, Longzhu, Yunhao, and the others had to use divine crystals to cultivate. Until now, they had used up almost all the divine crystals that they had traded that year. If they used up all the divine crystals and didn't find a suitable life star to stay, their cultivation had to be suspended. Divine crystals on the Mother Formation still had a moving halo. Zhenggu, the current patriarch of the giant tribe, Ka Tuo, Yunhao, Longzhu, and the others were looking at several dozen divine crystals inlaid in the Mother Formation, their faces complicated. We can't touch these divine crystals. Ka Tuo wore a cold and harsh face, gazing at Zhenggu, Yunhao, and the others. He said, "When my senior escapes, he will definitely contact us. Without these divine crystals, we will lose the connection with him utterly. But we're about to use up the divine crystals. There is no life stars around or earth and heaven energy. We can't continue our cultivation. Our realm and power will decrease." Zhenggu sighed and then said, "These dozens of thousands of divine crystals here are our last hope. Shiyin hasn't contacted us for dozens of years. Perhaps he has fallen. How can we count on him?" 32 years, Longzhu shook his head miserably. "If he's been alive, he should have contacted us a long time ago." "He's all right," Yang Zhuo of the Yang family said with a dark face. "Wait for him more. If we use the divine crystals of the formation, we will lose contact with him. Without him, we will lose our hope of living in Agate Star area." "We giants don't object if you want to wait for more," Zhenggu frowned, "but we don't want to wait in misery for an endless amount of time. We want to use the divine crystals on the Mother Formation. We can break through, and then we can find a suitable life star to stay." This rock came from Broken Star Field. When they escaped Old Orchid Star, they found this meteorite moving toward a remote area of Agate Star area. All of them then got on the rock. This meteorite was big enough to carry all of them. It was flying away from the far west region and even Agate Star area. It was still heading to the other end of the star area. In the beginning, they felt very lucky. They were lucky that the forces of the far west region couldn't chase after them. However, as time went by, this rock had moved further to the most rural and remote area of the life star. They didn't see any life star, mineral star, or even a dead star on the way. Gradually, they couldn't even see asteroids when there should have been a lot. This rose reluctance and despair in their hearts. Until they had finally recognized the situation, they were somewhere at the edge of Agate Star area where there were no residential areas. They didn't know where they were, either. At this moment, their divine crystals had almost run out, which made them restlessly terrified. Ka Tuo and Zhenggu had started to quarrel whether to use the divine crystals on the Mother Formation or not. Many warriors from Grace Mainland and by Tion's group of Raging Flame Star area thought that Zhenggu's idea was logical. They didn't have any news from Shiyin for 32 years. He didn't contact them through the Mother Formation. They thought Shiyin had bad fortune and might be gone already. Compared to waiting in vain, it was better to use the divine crystals to secure their powers and find a life star to stay. When their quarrel was fiercest, Feng Rao, standing by the Mother Formation, suddenly shivered. Her voice trembled as she said, "It works. It has activated." Feng Rao's eyes became watery. Chapter 977. Reunion. Chapter 977. Reunion underscore. Looking at the muscular creature slowly walking out of the Mother Formation, tears rolled down on Feng Rao's face uncontrollably. She felt her bitter sorrow that had accumulated over the years burst out all of a sudden. 32 years had passed. To some people, it was just a moment, but to others, it was like the eternal night without a beam of light, sinking people in only pain and sorrow. Feng Rao thought Shiyin had fallen, and his soul seal was eradicated. She thought she would never meet him again. But when she felt the most helpless, the Mother Formation was activated, and Shiyin walked out of the formation alone. The familiar face, his familiar aura, his body, everything was just like yesterday. Feng Rao stooped and cried. Jingu of the giant tribe quieted down. He used his soul message to call tribal Oldie Na Xian. Pavilion, Leona, and Katua got up, focusing on the man who had just arrived without moving. Yangjua of the Yang family, Longzhu, Yunhao, Bai Tian, Alchemist Jester, Chao Qiu Dao, and Tang Yuan Nan were all shocked. They all gazed at the man who had just come through the formation. At this moment, they knew how important this young man was to them. No one could compare with him. Shi Yin looked at the vague, vast universe, sending his soul consciousness around. He nodded tenderly. You're all here. It's good. It's really good. People then smiled. Shortly after, Giant Na Xian came hurriedly, his face excited. I didn't think you would still be alive. Of course, I'm alive. Shi Yin smiled casually. Do I look like someone who would die young? Na Xian was a little embarrassed. It's good that you're all right. Yeah, I feel so happy. People started to gather. They were from the raging flame star area and the Grace mainland, together with the giants. Arriving from different corners of the meteorite, they didn't say anything and just looked at him as if they were looking forward to seeing a new life. Thousands of people had gathered. They all studied Shi Yin, who smiled naturally. Much better than what I had imagined. Shi Yin thought that after the catastrophe burst out in the far west region, his friends and family in Old Orchid Star wouldn't be able to escape. At the moment he activated the formation, his hands had shivered as he expected the worst situation. He hadn't expected everyone to still be alive. Although their current condition wasn't good, as long as their souls were still there, they could overturn any bad situation. Staying alive was more important than anything else. Yangjua came over, patting Shi Yan's shoulder. Then, he told him things they had experienced throughout those years. Shi Yan listened to him. When Yangjua finished, Shi Yan smiled happily. Then, he looked at the 1,000-fold lotuses which had moved here with their own pool. He frowned, extending his hand to collect them. Each flower flew out of the pool, disappearing into the blue jar. Everybody looked at him in silence, not disturbing him. After a long time, he handed Na Xian several jars while smiling. As our deal, these 1,000-fold lotuses belong to the giants. Na Xian didn't refuse as he stashed them away and asked, what should we do now? This place was a remote area by the edge of the agate star area, without life stars or earth and heaven energy. It wasn't a place suitable for warriors. If they couldn't get rid of this place, they would have to use their energy to endure day after day. After a while, their realm would even decrease. We're getting out of here. I've found a new place for you to stay and cultivate at. Shi Yan pondered for a while and then advised, we'll move all people and things. While he was talking, divine crystals flew out of his ring, flying like raindrops on the mother formation. The mother and child sky linking formation needed divine crystals as fuel. It would require a significant amount of divine crystals to move all people here. The divine crystals inlaid on the formation now wasn't enough to endure until their immigration finished. Na Xian and Leona nodded. Yangjua immediately ordered his fellows, asking them to gather with their properties. Shortly, thousands of people gathered by the mother formation, as Shi Yin directed them to move through the light door. Divine crystal's energy was soon drained as time flew by slowly. After an unknown time, most of the people on the meteorite were gone. Now, only Na Xian, Leona, and Fei Lan were standing by Shi Yin. What do you want to do to this mother formation? Na Xian frowned. At this moment, Na Xian had reached the third sky of ethereal god realm. The inheritance he got from the Grace mainland and the cultivating materials from Ai Fu in Broken Star City had helped him break through again after 32 years of ascetic cultivation. Fei Land had also reached the second sky of ethereal god realm. She had made new achievements in condensing her ethereal extent. Leona was at the first sky of ethereal god realm, while Katua was at the third sky of original god realm. After 32 years, they had all advanced thanks to the benefit they received from Shi Yin. What to do with it? Shi Yin pondered for a while and then said, you guys should go first. I'm going to seal the mother formation, so other people can't use it to track us down. This place was already isolated. It was far away from the agate star area, and the meteorite was still moving at breakneck speed. The mother formation could connect to the child formation. When they all left, the mother formation would stay in this meteorite. It was hard to tell if the rock would move to somewhere, and someone would find it. That person could then use the mother formation to come to Devil Bloodstar and find Shi Yan's group. It was hard to predict indeed. Only warriors who cultivated space power at Shi Yan's level could seal the mother formation. To ensure their safety, Shi Yan would use space power to seal the mother formation. Na Xian and the others nodded, then entered the center of mother formation, one by one under Shi Yan's watch. Eventually, besides Shi Yan, there was no aura of living beings on this huge meteorite, which was still moving fast in the infinite universe. This rock had detached from the broken star field. Being blown away by some unknown force, it headed to somewhere no one knew of. Perhaps it would impact the barrier between star areas, being crushed into pieces of stone. Probably, it would become a smaller meteor, piercing through the star area barrier and turning into a meteor that fell into another star area. Shi Yan quietly watched the stars around him and contemplated for a while before entering the mother formation. The light on the mother formation shrank as the entire formation was sealed. It looked like it had disappeared from this massive rock, becoming a part of it without any distinctive energy fluctuation that people could sense. Once this meteorite exploded, the mother formation would be obliterated. However, if this meteorite were still intact, one day when Shi Yan was backed into a corner, he could use the child formation to escape a deadly pursuit. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The light expanded on the child formation. Shi Yan got out and then waved his hand to retrieve the child formation into his fantasy sky ring. Giant trees with big branches towered the place, shielding off the light. However, there were still some sunbeams stubborn enough to pierce through the thick leaves and branches, shining on the wet ground of the forest. Tens of thousands of warriors gathered, looking at Shi Yan. They saw him retrieve the formation and then close his eyes, sinking into his thoughts. After a while, Shi Yan took a deep breath, giving a broad smile while talking. This is the Devil Bloodstar, the territory of Demon Clan. I've just been here lately, but I think we can stay here. Na Xian's eyes brightened as he screamed, unable to help himself. Devil Bloodstar. It's the Devil Bloodstar. Devil Bloodstar was very famous in the Agate Star area. It was a level 7 life star, with the thickest earth and heaven energy. This star was guarded by an expert at the second sky of incipient God realm. Although the Agate Star area was vast, Devil Bloodstar was famous for its wealth, and Blood Devil's reputation was echoed everywhere in this star area. It was no doubt that staying in Devil Bloodstar and cultivating here was the best dream they could ever have. During the days of moving aimlessly in the infinite universe, they had wished for even a level 1 or 2 life star to take shelter. It was the best they could hope for. But today, Shi Yan brought them to Devil Bloodstar, the most famous life star in the entire Agate Star area. How could they not crack up in thrill? Of course, I haven't connected with Blood Devil yet. For the time being, you guys shouldn't scatter. Wait until I've arranged everything properly. Shi Yan contemplated for a while and then said, "Stay put in this forest. Don't mess around. I'm going to see if I can contact Wulan or not." Leona, Phalon, and Ka Tua had their eyes brightened. They knew Wulan was a subordinate of Blood Devil. They thought Blood Devil and Shi Yan had some lineage. And in this vast star area, Blood Devil didn't have any fellow from his tribe. Thus, he would favor Shi Yan, his new fellow who had appeared all of a sudden. Listening to him, the other three nodded as they could ease their mind. But Na Xian and the giants didn't know of his relationship with Wulan. Listening to him, they were actually a bit worried. Blood Devil was infamous indeed. His brutal name had spread even to the rural areas like the Far West region. After Na Xian reached the third sky of ethereal god realm, he had become more cautious. He was worried if Blood Devil's troops would come and attack them. And his worry came true shortly after. A troop of around 100 demon soldiers had sensed the commotion inside the forest. They rode the white bone war chariots, roaring in the sky. This forest was in the northwest of Devil Bloodstar and didn't have many visitors generally. So, when the patrol team found around tens of thousands of unidentified creatures here all of a sudden, it scared the patrol leader a lot. This area was his scope of patrolling, and this sudden situation was strange. If something unexpected happened, he wouldn't be able to get rid of trouble. The squad of 100 demon soldiers rode the white bone war chariots. The troopers came from different branches of Demon Clan, including Black-Scaled Tribe, Dragonhorn Tribe, Winged Clan, One-Eyed Tribe, etc. Those tribes used to appear in the Grace Mainland. However, there were more clansmen they had never seen before. Those clansmen had horns or rock-like skin, while some had more limbs than normal people. The patrol leader of this squad was a dragon horn man at the first sky of ethereal god realm, called Wu Deng. Wu Deng sat alone on a white bone war chariot, which had a lot of broken bones hung on it. He stood up, observing the shadows in the forest. His face grimaced as he asked, "Who are you? Daring to invade the Devil Bloodstar? Don't you know whose territory it is? Capture them all." The war chariots roared and scattered, surrounding this large group of people. Chapter 978. The Most Distinguished Guest. Chapter 978. The Most Distinguished Guest. Wu Deng shouted, making his troopers scatter. The war chariots hissed and roared in the sky, ready to attack the intruders at any minute. Shi Yin and Na Xian looked at the war chariots circling them in the sky while frowning. Na Xian didn't know of the situation, so he discreetly released his energy. The aura expanded from him like a surging ocean, covering the entire forest. In his ethereal extent, which was filled with the 5 elements energy, Na Xian slowly transformed, radiating dazzling lights. As the giants saw their oldie preparing to attack, they roared and stood up. As they were cautious, the warriors of the Raging Flame Star area and Grace Mainland were also hurried, their eyes cold but anxious. They were also prepared to resist. However, they didn't have the confidence, and they were actually worried. It wasn't the first time they had come to Agate Star area. They knew about the brutal name of Blood Devil, and the Devil Bloodstar was his territory. Shi Yin frowned, looking at his people who were prepared to fight. He spread his arms to stop them. "Don't act indiscreetly." Na Xian was surprised, but he calmed down while talking to Shi Yin. "Can you?" Shi Yin smiled, trying to ease the giant's mind. "Leave it to me." Then, he flew up, floating in front of Wu Deng's chariot while smiling at him. "I'm here to find Wu Lan. Please tell her Shi Yan's here." Wu Deng was surprised. "You know Madame Wu Lan?" "Yes. Please report. She will arrange things properly," explained Shi Yin. Wu Deng nodded and signaled his troopers not to act rashly, then took a token he wore on his belt and proceeded to report something. Many war chariots were harbored by a group of grand palaces in the center of Devil Bloodstar. Warriors of the Potion and Tool Pavilion were continually transporting materials, looking like a colony of hard-working ants. Fu Wei was smiling, talking to the person standing next to her. Feng An stood by her, checking the materials in his records. Wu Lan and Fu Wei stood together, their eyes brightening as they watched people deliver goods. Sometimes, Wu Lan nodded while listening to Feng An's summary. "Where's Precursor Blood Devil?" Fu Wei waved her white wrist, making a series of clear clinking sounds. She was wearing a long and loose dress, which draped over her charming, curvy body. He and a monster dragon started to discuss some business. "I've sent him a message. He'll be back soon." Wu Lan smiled. "Fu Wei, little sister, you look prettier every time I see you. You're the youngest elder of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. You can soon control the whole pavilion." Fu Wei smiled weakly but naturally. "Lanjia, you've complimented me too much. There are many parties in our pavilion, and our elders are all prominently talented. I don't dare to dream for the throne of the pavilion master." "Haha, it's too early to say anything. Anyway, with your potential, you can step on that precious throne in glory. I believe in your competence." Wu Lan smiled and complimented. Fu Wei was relaxed, chatting with Wu Lan. It seemed they had a good friendship. Suddenly, Wu Lan frowned as she found her token vibrating. She excused herself with a smile, then picked up the token, using her soul energy to listen to it. In a moment, Wu Lan's eyes strangely brightened. She became so happy that she even hissed. That kid escaped alive. He made it. It's so good. Wu Lan was so joyful. Fu Wei and people of the Potion and Tool Pavilion were bewildered, as they didn't know why she was so happy she couldn't help it. They all knew Wu Lan was the major domo of the Devil Blood Star. She helped Blood Devil with mundane junks and chores, and Blood Devil appreciated her a lot. Wu Lan wasn't a fighter class expert. However, she was meticulous. Her management was neat and precise. She was also in charge of the promotion of the tribe's warriors and the division of Devil Blood Star's land. Wu Lan's realm wasn't high, but she held a special position in Devil Blood Star. She was the most essential subordinate of Blood Devil. Lanjia, Master Blood Devil's about to come back? Fu Wei smiled tenderly, raising her hand to stop Fenghan from reporting more. If Master Blood Devil's back, I'm going to discuss the situation with him, and of course, our new contract. Wu Lan shook his head. No, not him. Master will come back later. It's someone our master has been waiting for since so long. Mei Mei, please wait for me. I'm going to pick him up myself. Oh please, suit yourself. Fu Wei hurried to express herself, but she was actually skeptical. Who was it that had to be welcomed by Wu Lan personally? Was it one of the two patriarchs of the Monster Clan in Monster Dragon Star? Aunt En and Fenghan standing next to her were also suspicious. They also assumed that the new guest had a high position and status. Otherwise, the major domo of the Devil Blood Star wouldn't need to welcome him personally. Above the forest, Wu Ding, the patrol leader of this troop, stiffened his face. He immediately put away his arrogant expression, flew out of his war chariot, and slightly bowed to Shi Yin. Please wait for a moment. Madame Wu Lan will arrive shortly. When Wu Ding looked at Shi Yin, he couldn't hide his fear and suspicion. It was because Wu Lan had told him, "That's the most distinguished guest of our master." Wu Ding lowered his head, but he was looking at Shi Yin, a second sky of original God Realm warrior. He had a lot of doubts he couldn't explain. He suddenly recalled something. Slightly changing his face, he shouted at his troopers, "Get down here, y'all. This is our most distinguished guest. Treat him with respect." Hearing him, everybody became baffled. The members of his troop didn't have a clue. However, seeing their leader getting angry, they obediently descended from the sky. They all looked at Shi Yin bewilderedly, the young leader of this group of strangers. However, a storm was rising in their hearts. This kid is that most distinguished guest? Na Xian, Bai Tian, Long Zhu, and Yang Zhua were also petrified, looking at the young man with a discreet fright. After 2 hours, a plump silhouette appeared. As soon as she arrived, her soft voice arose. "You, why are you so late? Do you know our master has been waiting for you with a lot of worries?" Wu Lan halted, steadying her body in front of Shi Yin. While smiling, she shouted at him, "Our master has used a lot of blood in search for you. He couldn't find your trace in Agate Star area. He thought you were. Our master had mourned for you for a long time." Wu Ding and the members of the 100-member troop were shocked as if they were struck by lightning. Our master had used blood to find this kid? Who was he? Since they had followed Blood Devil for so many years, they knew he was haughty. He didn't put anyone in his eyes. Even when the patriarch of the evil dragon tribe or brutal dragon tribe visited him, he could be mad and shout at them. They had never heard their master favor anybody. I came across something unexpected. I'd been confined in the space crack for 32 years. I just got out of it. Shi Yin smiled reluctantly. No wonder. Wu Lan got it, smiling unceasingly. I knew it. Your powers aren't ordinary. You are indeed cunning and smart. How could you die early, right? When Master couldn't find you in Agate Star area, he said perhaps you were in some space crack. Or else, it was impossible that he couldn't have found you. While talking, Wu Lan rose her hand, telling Wu Ding, "Take our distinguished guest to east of Devil Blood Star. Take them to the territory of the Dwarf Demon Tribe, which they have cleaned before. Our master has arranged this place for them." Wu Ding was frightened. He couldn't help but study Shi Yin, his eyes filled with respect. Not long after Wu Lan's team came back from the far west region, Blood Devil had ordered the dwarf demon tribe to move out of their richest piece of lands, which was then kept available for years. The members of the dwarf demon tribe didn't dare to protest against their master's decision and had moved away as they were told. At that time, demons living in the Devil Blood Star couldn't explain their master's deed. They didn't know why he gave such order. The land they had spared was kept available for many years. The dwarf demon tribe used to ask to take their property back. However, Blood Devil had always rejected their proposal. No one knew for whom Blood Devil had prepared the land. Many subordinates of Blood Devil had made guesses, but they didn't have any clear idea. But today, Wu Deng finally got it. He could clearly know how important Shi Yan's group was in Blood Devil's mind finally. Wu Deng was so frightened that he sweated. He knew he was lucky because he hadn't attacked the others rashly. If he had hurt the distinguished guests, Master would skin him alive. Wolon, Wu Deng, and his troop guided Na Xian's giants and the other to east of Devil Blood Star. Na Xian and Yangzhou didn't know anything. They just looked at the sky bewilderedly. Seeing Shi Yan nod, they became calm and smiled, following Wu Deng's troop to the territory Blood Devil had arranged for them 32 years ago. In their opinion, Shi Yan now had so many secrets, but they trusted him with all their hearts. Our master has gone to Monster Dragon Star. He'll be back in several days. Come here, we're going to the main hall to talk and wait for him. After all of them were gone, Wu Lan invited Shi Yan. Shi Yan nodded. As you've arranged? Fu Wei and her people of the Potion and Tool Pavilion were standing on a black stone square. She stooped to ask her warriors, who were transporting the goods, to be careful with many fragile items like the jade products. Before being refined, they were really eggshell. Who is that VIP? Who's important enough to make Wu Lan leave us here and welcome him personally? Feng frowned. Blood Devil and the two chiefs of the Evil Dragon Tribe and Brutal Dragon Tribe are close to each other. He's in the Monster Dragon Star now, so it's not one of the chiefs. Except for them, I can't really think we could have such high and noble status. Aunt An also shook her head. I don't know, either. Recently, Blood Devil has caused big commotions. I don't know what he thought when he sent a fleet, marching to the far west region. I heard they killed so many people. Feng frowned. Logically, it's impossible that he would lay his eyes on a small area like that far west region. I don't know why he was enraged all of a sudden like that. This man doesn't reason. We can't understand him. I'm curious whom Wu Lan's going to receive. Aunt An furrowed her brows. We will know shortly. Fu Wei's face was natural. She looked calm as if nothing could distract her. However, seeing Wu Lan and Shi Yan walking together, Fu Wei, who was always placid, had her soft body shiver. Her green eyes showed that she was disbelieving. Evidently, she was frightened. Chapter 979. Immense Wealth. Chapter 979. Immense Wealth _ Shi Yan was also startled. He looked at Fu Wei and the people of Potion and Tool Pavilion, beaming a smile. Oh, we meet again. Fu Wei, Feng An, and the others exchanged looks. They were all bewildered. They had never thought that Wu Lan's distinguished guest was Shi Yan. This surprised them very much. They didn't know why Shi Yan had only second sky of original God Realm but was able to make Wu Lan leave them to welcome him. On the way to this star, Fu Wei's team had kept an eye on Shi Yan. They had even used Potion and Tool Pavilion's huge records of hotshots of different clans to search for Shi Yan. They received nothing. Fu Wei reacted and smiled. I didn't know that you were Wu Lan's distinguished guest. No wonder you aren't interested in joining our Potion and Tool Pavilion. Oh. Wu Lan looked at them curiously. You guys know each other? Yeah, I came to Devil Blood Star with them. They let me take a ride on the battleship. Shi Yan explained, looking at the colorful cultivating materials that were transported to the grand palaces. He had an idea and he asked the other, your Potion and Tool Pavilion also buys materials, I suppose? Of course, Feng An laughed. Little brother, don't you know that our Potion and Tool Pavilion is the biggest trader of Agate Star area? We do sell and buy many things. Fu Wei Mei has a good relationship with us. We have bought many good and rare materials, battleships, and war chariots from them. We've done business with him for years. Wu Lan spoke to Shi Yin, her face serious. Do you have something you want to sell? Yeah, I do. I also want to trade for cultivating materials for my friends. Shi Yin pondered for a while. His mind flickered, calling a blue ice jar from his fantasy sky ring. The blue container emerged. Magical energy slowly fluctuated from it. Shi Yin extended his hand, touching the void. The blue ice jar flew towards Fu Wei. Shi Yin had harvested 23,000-fold lotuses and stored them in blue ice jars. Giant Na Xian kept 10 flowers. Shi Yin had 13 flowers. Each 1,000-fold lotus had many layers like an extended sea of consciousness. It had marvelous soul energy fluctuating unceasingly. Fu Wei's jade-like, slender hand caught the blue ice jar. Her smile froze on her face. She screamed in surprise. 1,000-fold lotus. 3 flowers. Ant Un and Feng An's eyes brightened. They couldn't help but look at Shi Yin, their faces stern. The 1,000-fold lotus was incredibly precious. It had marvelous effects on the soul. Even incipient God Realm warriors could use the 1,000-fold lotus to increase their soul energy. Each flower was priceless. This kind of flower was famous in the entire Agate Star area. Fu Wei's team came from Potion and Tool Pavilion. They all had knowledge of precious and rare materials. Thus, they all knew the values of the 1,000-fold lotus. All were shocked at this moment. Wu Lan was bewildered. She pulled herself together, looking at Shi Yin deep in his eyes. You have 1,000-fold lotuses? Shi Yin smiled and nodded. Wu Lan took a deep breath, talking all of a sudden. Don't sell them. We can keep them. If you need divine crystals, we can give them to you. Don't. Fu Wei intervened. She said with a smiling face, we can offer you a high price. 5 million top-quality divine crystals for each. What do you think? Wu Lan waved her hand, smiling like a flower. We can't buy 1,000-fold lotus that easily. 5 million isn't a small number, but it's not enough to buy these flowers. She chuckled, speaking to Shi Yin. The 1,000-fold lotus is a great tonic to the soul. After refining, it can strengthen the sea of consciousness and increase soul energy. It's easy to sell, but it's tough to buy. Don't be impulsive. I'm grateful that you guys have accepted us living in Devil Bloodstar. However, I don't want to bother you with everything. I can't use your divine crystals for free. Shi Yin contemplated and then shook his head. We can't take advantage of you guys like that. Wu Lan was astonished. But then, she smiled at him. Okay, so here it is. I represent Devil Bloodstar who will buy your 1,000-fold lotuses. I will pay 8 million divine crystals for each. You can use the divine crystals to buy materials you need from Potion and Tool Pavilion. What do you think? Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He didn't hesitate and nodded directly. Okay. Fu Wei was holding the blue ice jar. She was reluctant. However, seeing Wu Lan and Shi Yin seal their deal, she couldn't do anything. She handed the jar holding the 1,000-fold lotuses and sighed. Forget it. I won't try to get someone else's favorite objects. Wu Lan smiled happily, clutching the blue ice jar. I'll give you divine crystals later. You can talk to them about the materials. I can arrange it for you immediately. She called curtly. A demon old man wearing gray garments emerged from the palace. He replied with respect. Madam, is there anything you want? Bring me 24 million top-quality divine crystals, asked Wu Lan. The old man nodded, saying nothing before leaving. Please help me fetch some people here. Yeah, the ones I've brought. Shi Yin smiled, looking at Wu Lan. Na Xian of the giant tribe, Jester, Yang Zhua, and Long Zhu, my fellows. Please bring them here. I'm not familiar with cultivating materials. I'll let them handle it. No problem. Wu Lan agreed and then shouted. She asked a troop to fetch the said people. Oh, so you are going to have a great shopping time. Fu Wei smiled. I didn't expect another big business when coming to Devil Bloodstar this time. All right, we need to stay here longer. Fu Wei Mei, Shi Yin is our Devil Bloodstar's distinguished guest. You can't try to steal a deal from him. Nah, how could I? We never deceive people. You know it, right? Fu Wei said seriously. We can't finish this business quickly. We should rest for a while. We've got a long journey. I think everybody is tired now. All right. Wu Lan had arranged Fu Wei and Potion and Tool Pavilion's people to stay in an ancient black stone building tens of thousands of square meters. After they had settled, Fu Wei and Anton found a quiet stone chamber. Fu Wei touched the fantasy sky ring which made dilapidated books and ancient scrolls fly out. Anton didn't know why Fu Wei did that. Anton just stood and watched her. Fu Wei checked each of them, her face focused. Sometimes she frowned. No, not this one. Oh, not this one, either. Young elder, what are you looking for? Actually, this old woman was called In Yun. She couldn't help but ask. Those books of the canon, you've studied them all, haven't you? Why do you want to skim through them again? In Yun didn't want Fu Wei to waste more time searching for the canon. She thought that seeking for the top treasure that the elders of their pavilion had spent tens of thousands of years would amount to nothing. It wouldn't be easy for her to find it. No, it's not true. Fu Wei ignored her. She was still skimming through her books. After a while, her eyes brightened and she hissed, "This one. Flutter, flutter." Fu Wei flipped the pages fast, her face extremely stern. Her slender fingers suddenly stopped, pointing at a paragraph on a page. Her beautiful eyes became bewildered. She didn't talk for quite a long time. Throwing the dilapidated book to In Yun, Fu Wei uttered, "Aunt, read it yourself?" In Yun was bewildered, receiving the shattered book. At first glance, she froze. That year when that elder ran away, he brought the seeds of thousand-fold lotus and the canon. She understood why Fu Wei was so hurried. The thousand-fold lotus is also rare in Agate Star area. It doesn't have many sanctuaries either. It will take 10,000 years to form. Right after that, the flower will be picked shortly. Fu Wei took a deep breath. As he could take 3 flowers at the same time, it means that the area hasn't been discovered for at least tens of thousands of years. Aunt, do you think it's related to the canon somehow? And Yun was startled. She contemplated for a while and then jabbered. It could be. She became excited. If we can find the canon, our position will change greatly. Now those elders are aggressive. They are discontent with us. If we bring the canon back, you can get the throne of the Pavilion Master. It was unexpected to find news of the canon. This trip to Devil Bloodstar was a wise decision, indeed. Fu Wei's heart was shivering. Her beautiful face blushed. We can't confirm this yet. It seems like we have to talk to that guy. Yeah, we better avoid Wu Lan of Devil Bloodstar. She knows the value of the canon. If she knows this information, we will have to pay a big price. Sometimes, information is priceless. And Yun nodded. Fu Wei took a deep breath. Her breasts shivered. She gritted her teeth and said, "I'm going to find him and speak to him. As long as we have news of the canon, we have to find it at any cost." All right. Inside a spacious palace, Wu Lan was very excited, watching the blue ice jar. She smiled at Shi Yin. "You do have good fortune. You can get the thousand-fold lotus. Maybe you don't know the value of the thousand-fold lotus, but it's something that even incipient God Realm warriors drool for. Yeah, if Master knows I got 3 flowers, he will be thrilled." Shi Yin sat on a soft couch, drinking red wine. He said deliberately, "I still have some." Wu Lan was perplexed. "Honestly, we have 23,000-fold lotuses. Giant Na Xian keeps 10. You bought 3. I still have 10, said Shi Yin with a smile. 23 pieces of thousand-fold lotus. There are 23 flowers. Wu Lan looked at him as if she was looking at a monster. She jolted up from her seat. Shi Yin, tell me honestly, where did you get these flowers? Anything else you have in that place? Old Orchid Star. Shi Yin pondered for a while. He didn't want to conceal, so he explained to her how they had lifted the mysterious city underground to harvest the thousand-fold lotus. Shi Yin could see that Wu Lan did not have any evil intentions. This woman knew more secrets of the Agate Star area. Perhaps she knew that mysterious ancient city. Thus, he told her. The mysterious city buried underground? The gravity there is more than 10,000 times heavier than here? Wu Lan was aghast. Strange light rippled in her eyes. A lumber of life ancient tree, an evil dragon skull, and a strange book? Don't you think your fortune is too good? The lumber of life ancient tree of the Wood clan was sold. Not Exion used the evil dragon skull to refine his body. Now I have only the 1,000-fold lotuses and a strange, unknown book. Can you show me the book? All right. Shi Yin touched his fantasy sky ring. He took out the yellowed book and threw it at Wu Lan. Here, this book. Chapter 980. Refined Thousand-Fold Lotus. Chapter 980. Refined Thousand-Fold Lotus _ Wu Lan held the ancient book and carefully checked it. Exquisite beams of light sparkled from her fingertips while she studied the book. Those beams of light poured into the book like many snakes. She frowned, sinking in her thoughts. Shi Yin lay relaxed, taking sips of red wine in his glass while his eyes checked each of Wu Lan's moves. After a while, Wu Lan shook her head, her eyes suspicious. I've never seen this language before. The material of this book is also unique. Although I poured energy into it, I can't grasp the meaning of its writings. I can't decode its mysteries. Wu Lan returned the ancient book to Shi Yin. Forget it. I know this book is strange. Yeah, I will study it later. Shi Yin didn't bother with it. He put the ancient book into his fantasy sky ring and then continued drinking. Shortly after, the old man Wu Lan had sent away to bring divine crystals reverently and respectfully came back with a glistening green ring. This ring had some delicate yet inexplicable carvings and beams of space energy. Madam, here are 24 million top-quality divine crystals as you asked. Wu Lan waved her hand, signaling the man to give it to Shi Yin. Squeezing the ring, Shi Yin sent a wisp of soul consciousness into the ring. It was a strange, bright space where top-quality divine crystals piled up. Each pile was several hundred meters high. Each divine crystal was pellucid with distinctive light and vigorous energy. After his soul consciousness returned, Shi Yin beamed a smile and nodded to Wu Lan. Yeah, 24 million top-quality divine crystals. This is my biggest fortune. I didn't expect that the 3 flowers could earn me this much. You don't know how precious original incipient grade materials are. Wu Lan burst out laughing. Honestly, the price of 1,000-fold lotus could reach at least 10 million divine crystals in the auction house. I bought it for 8 million only. I'm taking advantage of you already. Shi Yin smiled, not bothering with that. We can't calculate too much in business. Otherwise, we would earn 1 but lose 10. Moreover, it's your grace that allows us to stay in Devil Blood Star. You should have some benefits. It's natural. Wu Lan was content with his manners. She smiled at him. I've done things to seek profits for my master. After he absorbs these 3,000-fold lotuses in his sea of consciousness, his sea of consciousness could expand 1/10. It would be a big help to my master. I think he will be thrilled. Yes, it's good, nodded Shi Yin. 1,000-fold lotuses still need to be refined once. Wu Lan contemplated for a while and then explained. 1,000-fold lotuses grow in dim-lit and cold places. They can't be exposed to the light directly. A 1,000-fold lotus would need at least 10,000 years to grow to its full size. As it has stayed in a cold place for 10,000 years, it will have a lot of cold qi. This kind of qi has filled every petal of the lotus. We can't take it into the sea of consciousness. Thus, before we use the flower, we must clean that cold qi. Of course, if the user's power Upanishad is the cold power, it'll be much better and the cold qi won't harm anything. Pausing for a while, Wu Lan continued, I've observed your powers Upanishad. Your soul altar doesn't have the cold qi, right? Yes, seems like I have to refine them a little bit. Shi Yin smiled. His thoughts flickered and another blue ice jar emerged from his palm. Wu Lan's beautiful eyes brightened. Her red lips curved as she was surprised. Seems like you do have more 1,000-fold lotuses. Your fortune is what people have yearned for. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Flows of scorching flames flew out from Shi Yin's fingertips. They ran like electric beams aimed at the blue ice jar. His soul consciousness moved, and his altar spun silently. Wu Lan was bewildered, her soft body shuddering. Her eyes were glued to Shi Yan's fingers as she became stern. Heaven flame? Wu Lan pried, her face gingerly. Yes, heaven flame, Shi Yan confirmed. His eyes concentrated, using his soul to control heaven flame, which was moving and wiggling like snakes around the blue ice jar and seeping into layers of the lotus petals. This operation was to eliminate the cold qi in the flowers. Wu Lan's beautiful eyes were both frightened and regretted. She studied him, not saying anything for a long moment. She had never thought that Shi Yan could have heaven flames. In Agate Star area, heaven flames were very rare. Only the ancient continent or the life star with an origin could have them. Agate Star area also had ancient continents. However, they were broken as they exploded into pieces and made them drift away, becoming part of the infinite universe. Wu Lan had studied descriptions related to ancient continents and heaven flames. She knew about the powers of heaven flame and the mysteries of the origin. A warrior who fused with heaven flames could reach the origin of powers Upanishad to understand the nature of powers Upanishad better. His progress on realm and powers would be much greater than ordinary warriors. At second sky of original God realm, Shi Yan had a great innate endowment in Wu Lan's eyes. She had doubts naturally since Shi Yan wasn't old enough to reach such a profound realm. However, when she saw heaven flames, she understood the answer. She was shocked. The blue ice jar had the clear blue light of the ocean when the heaven flame entered it. It then turned into a blue light curtain, shrouding the blue ice jar. The blue ice jar turned into a chunk of the pellucid blue chunk. It was transparent enough to see the 1,000-fold lotuses inside. The blue ice jar was a specialized space container, which was customized with a unique method. At this moment, the fire snakes were visible inside the jar. They moved like fire gossamer, extending towards every corner of the blue ice jar, seeping into each petal of the flowers. Wu Lan kept quiet and watched. She didn't dare to disturb him. Silently, rainbow lights, a red-orange flame, and a gold-red flame appeared, weaving with each other inside the dim blue halo of the blue ice jar with complexity. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Flows of cold qi seeped out from the magical lines in the blue ice jar, turning into a white mist. They vanished shortly afterward. After 2 hours, Wu Lan didn't know that she had been observing Shi Yan's operation for that long. Shi Yan's closed eyes opened when he exhaled. He smiled brightly. I'm done. The dim blue halo wasn't projected anymore. The blue ice jar sat quietly in his hand. It became simple and natural. As it wasn't pellucid anymore, people couldn't see what it contained. Wu Lan's body shivered. She woke up from fright. When she looked at Shi Yan again, her eyes were filled with unclear intentions. You, sigh. Seems like we've underestimated you. Who could have guessed that you had so many secrets? Not many. I'm just luckier than other people. Shi Yan put the blue ice jar away. Lifting his head to look at the stone door, Shi Yan said, My people have arrived. I'm going to arrange something. Wu Lan nodded. Na Xian of the giant tribe, Jester, Longzhu, Yangzhua, and Fengku was cautiously following a demon soldier. They came quietly. Devil Blood Star was Blood Devil's territory. In Agate Star area, it was a high-ranked life star where countless experts of the demon clan dwelled. To Na Xian's team, they had to be careful as they were the tenants. When they saw Shi Yan, they exhaled in relief. Yangzhua smiled, calling, Little Yin, what did you call us here for? You guys should talk. Wu Lan smiled and then excused herself. The demon guards in this hall also behaved. They left with Wu Lan, leaving room for Shi Yan and the others. I sold 3,000-fold lotuses. Shi Yan looked at Na Xian, his face serious. 1,000-fold lotus was priced at 8 million divine crystals. I got 24 million top-quality divine crystals. Na Xian, Jester, Yangzhua were perplexed. Their bodies shook as they were thrilled. Precursor Na Xian, at the moment, don't sell your 1,000-fold lotuses. It's easy to sell the flowers, but it's tough to buy them, indeed. We have 24 million divine crystals now. I think it's enough to buy cultivating materials from Potion and Tool Pavilion. Shi Yan lowered his voice and advised. For the money we have, you guys should discuss and see what kind of materials we need. All right. Nyaxian didn't have any other opinions. He agreed immediately. He said with satisfaction, "Kid, you always have keen eyes. I'll follow you. My tribe's future counts on you and your efforts. My deepest thanks to you." He didn't wait for Shi Yin to answer. Nyaxian bowed to him in the most respectful etiquette of the giants. His gratitude was visible on his face. Shi Yin was shocked. He waved his hand continually as he felt shy. Then, he asked Nyaxian, Jester, Longzhu, Fengke, and Yangzhua to list up the materials they needed so they could place the order with Fu Wei of Potion and Tool Pavilion. 2 hours later, Nyaxian's group had a list of different kinds of materials including pellets to refine the body, strange bone materials, divine-grade secret treasures that could reflect the soul and communicate with the soul altar, different kinds of armor, a fantasy sky ring, herbs that could stimulate energy, and even specialized and customized battleships. After the 5 of them came up with this list, they couldn't hold their happy smiles anymore. They had never thought that they could be able to buy so many kinds of precious materials like this one day. Source of Power Upanishad Inheritance. We need it. Yangzhua and Longzhu said, "The Source of Power Upanishad Inheritance has descriptions of power Upanishads that could guide the warriors on their cultivating path. It's a big help to the warriors to determine which power is most suitable for them." Yangzhua and Longzhu came from Grace Mainland. They understood well the importance of the Source of Power Upanishad Inheritance. For instance, the juniors like Yang Ming and Li Feng hadn't found a suitable power for them to cultivate. Without a power Upanishad, they wouldn't be able to create a soul altar to reach the true God realm. Raging Flame Star Area and Agate Star Area had the Source of Power Upanishad Inheritance. At the same time, there was a classification based on the number of powers Upanishad, level of the power, beginner, medium, or advance. With a high-level Source of Power Upanishad Inheritance, it would be easy to advance in their power Upanishad cultivation to the warriors of Grace Mainland. Shi Yin understood the mysteries. He nodded and said, "We should discuss in detail with people from Potion and Tool Pavilion." Everybody nodded and couldn't hide their excitement. Chapter 981. You like him? Chapter 981. You like him? In another palace of the Devil Blood Star, Fu Wei, Shi Yin, and Wu Lan were sitting together, eating crystal-like fruits and drinking wines while chatting cheerily. Sitting by a round table in the center of the hall under their place were Yun and Feng Un, who were talking with Jester, Nyaxian, Feng Ka, Yangzhua, and Longzhu. They were smiling, confirming the price of different cultivating materials of the Potion and Tool Pavilion. After 4 hours, the Potion and Tool Pavilion got an order of 2 million divine crystals, which they had to treat with great care. It included many different cultivating materials that required a great deal of patience to study and list up the price. Luckily, they had sealed the deal. Nyaxian, Yangzhua, and the others were so happy. Wu Lan glared at Fu Wei, grinning. "Mei Mei, you're so generous. Haha. You've always calculated a lot when doing business with our Devil Blood Star. Why do you treat Shi Yin especially?" Pausing for a while, Wu Lan couldn't help but tease her. "I think you've been touched on seeing our handsome little Yin. You like him, right?" Fu Wei blushed, glancing at Wu Lan. "Jejia, don't tease me." Shi Yin was a little embarrassed. He just chuckled, but didn't intervene. Wu Lan insisted on being here since she was afraid the Potion and Tool Pavilion staff could deceive Shi Yin. In fact, Fu Wei was really generous this time. The prices they offered were much lower when they had done business with Devil Blood Star, which stirred Wu Lan up. Shi Yin didn't know why this woman did so. As far as he had known about them, the elders of Potion and Tool Pavilion would calculate a lot when doing business with the others. When they confirmed the price, they wouldn't let the other bargain. However, Fu Wei gave way from time to time. Moreover, she had initially offered the best price to them. Many expensive materials had been sold with significant discount and promotion. Listening to her quotation, Wu Lan gawked, her face disbelieving. Being the major domo of the Devil Blood Star, she was in charge of doing business with the Potion and Tool Pavilion. Although they had been working together for years, she hadn't got any advantage from Fu Wei. Sometimes, she had to use all of her skills to get a little discount. But dealing with Shi Yin this time, Fu Wei didn't wait for him and Wu Lan to bargain. She had offered the materials that they needed to negotiate the price easily at once, which also frightened Yun and Feng. It also seemed difficult for them to arrange it. Fu Wei tried to oppress them, asking them to make deals using the price she told them. Feng felt irritated, sighing all the time. However, he didn't dare to quarrel with her. Feng often looked at Shi Yin with different eyes. He thought that Fu Wei offered them the best price because she favored Shi Yin, who cultivated space power. He even believed that Fu Wei was a little insane right now, as the other had rejected them. He wouldn't join the potion and tool pavilion, so why should she treat him with more benefits like that? Fu Wei had given way to this order, which caused the loss of several million divine crystals. Feng thought it was such a big waste. Fu Wei had never done that before. And Yun could guess Fu Wei's intention. However, she didn't agree with her. They got no clue about the cannon, and Fu Wei had already given them low prices. If they got nothing from this, wouldn't it have their veins explode in anger? After they had closed the deal, Na Xian and Jester looked refreshed and happy as they smiled and excused themselves. The potion and tool pavilion had sold them a high-grade source of power Upanishad inheritance at 1 million top-quality divine crystals. However, Wu Lan told Shi Yin it would cost at least 1,300,000 divine crystals. Fu Wei had given them a discount of 300,000 divine crystals. It was insane indeed. Wu Lan had a lot of doubts, though. She sometimes glanced at Fu Wei and Shi Yin, becoming excited discreetly. Was it true that Fu Wei did like Shi Yin? She instinctively came up with that idea. So she teased the woman the second time. Hey Mei Mei, if you got the same quotation for our next business, I will treat you as if you were my blood sister. Sigh. You've known Shi Yin for not too long. Well, several months, I think. But you have given him such a big discount, and you say you don't like him. I wonder what reason you have to do that. Shi Yin became more embarrassed. He turned around to not look at her, but he was skeptical still. Fu Wei was teased, glaring at her maliciously as she screamed tenderly, Jie, can you be quiet? I can see he's your Devil Blood Star's distinguished guest, and today is the first time we've done business. That's why I gave him a discount. In our next deal, I will apply the same price like yours. Well, if not, should I bear the loss another time? Wu Lan smiled, but she didn't say anything. However, her eyes were indeed skeptical and meaningful, which indicated she had confirmed the fact that Fu Wei liked Shi Yin. Fu Wei's lady heart was annoyed. She sighed reluctantly and just ignored the woman. All right, we're looking forward to seeing your delivery. Shi Yin suddenly got up as he thought he would be teased continually by staying here. He wanted to leave now. Wu Lan also stood up. At this moment, Fu Wei leaned her softy body over. She put the glass of wine down while sighing and talking sweetly. Shi Yin, can you stay for a while? I have something I want to talk to you in private. Can you spare me a moment? Wu Lan was baffled as she oddly looked at her. Mei Mei, do you really like him? Arg, never mind. Forget it. I won't disturb you guys anymore. I'm leaving now. Looking at Fu Wei's blushing face, which was so soft they could squeeze water out of it, Wu Lan knew she shouldn't push it further. As Wu Lan was afraid that she would enrage Fu Wei, she shut her mouth and left. Fu Wei had her face red, biting her lower lip. She was embarrassed indeed. She looked at Shi Yin and asked her staff, You guys can go now? And Yun and Feng looked odd. However, they didn't say anything. They slightly bent their body to greet her and then left. Before Feng had reached the main gate, he turned around to have a glimpse of Shi Yin. He felt a strange fear, but he didn't know why. Does our young elder really like him? After they left the room, Feng suddenly lowered his voice while frowning. Young elder's the most prominent candidate for the pavilion master position. It's been so many years, and our young elder has seen many types of men, as many as fishes in the river. They are the heirs of clans, leaders of mighty forces, and so on. But she keeps her heart clear. She has never given them a good face. What about this time? Don't think too much. Young elder knows what to do. She will behave, and Yun told him off. Feng shook his head, his face begrudging. When the women fall in love, they couldn't do anything else. Take our recent deal, for example. We can't earn anything, but we have to spend hundreds of thousands of divine crystals to make up the loss. I can't believe our smart young elder would make mistakes because of her passion. Sigh, this deal is such a loss. I told you young elder has her decision. You don't need to care about that, okay? And Yun didn't give him a good face. We're in a disadvantaged situation. The great elder is watching us. They will catch our tail for the loss we made this time. Our party will encounter trouble then. Feng'an knitted his brows tightly. When he mentioned the great elder of Potion and Tool Pavilion, and Yun darkened her face. She frowned as she sighed inwardly, hoping they could find some clues of the canon which would help them ease the tense situation. There were only Fu Wei and Shi Yin in the hall now. They looked at each other and felt a little bit embarrassed, staying quiet for a while. Fu Wei had pinned her long hair, making a gorgeous bun with beautiful jade hairpins. Her blue eyes were deep and bright. She slightly bit her lower pink lip while blushing as if she were drunk. She didn't look at Shi Yin as she was arranging her words. She didn't know how to start this. They didn't have anything ambiguous. However, after Wu Lan had teased them and the odd looks the other two gave them, at this moment, they could feel something equivocal while staying in this hall. Cough, cough. Seeing Fu Wei keep silent, Shi Yin couldn't be patient anymore. He talked indifferently. I wonder what you wanted to show me as you've asked me to stay here? Fu Wei's soft body slightly shivered as she got out of her thoughts. Her beautiful eyes twinkled. Eventually, she looked at Shi Yin while murmuring, I want to ask you about the 1,000-fold lotus. Shi Yin shook his head, talking resolutely. I gave them to Wu Lan. I won't sell the remaining. The remaining? You still have some? Fu Wei's eyes brightened. They projected a light that seemed to gather on Shi Yan's face like the light from diamonds. How many 1,000-fold lotuses do you have? Her voice trembled as she felt she was one more step closer to the canon. The elder who took the canon and left had also brought the 1,000-fold lotus seeds. He had so many seeds. So logically, it should be more than 3 pieces. Hearing Shi Yin say that he still had some 1,000-fold lotuses, Fu Wei's hope, which was only 30%, now increased to 70%. Her heart beat faster, and her eyes sparkled dazzlingly. At this moment, her astonishment had ameliorated her beauty. Fu Wei's plump body inside the loose dress was shivering. Her ample breasts bounced like a mountain range having a tremor, releasing a wave of attraction. She was restlessly uneasy. Shi Yin was baffled, causing him to frown as he looked at her. He complimented her beauty inwardly. However, he didn't lose his consciousness. Not many left. All right, so what you want to tell me is related to the 1,000-fold lotus. Could you tell me where did you harvest the 1,000-fold lotus? Fu Wei breathed tenderly. Shi Yin could hear her voice trembling. He kept silent for a while, arranging his thoughts. Then, he said calmly, You know I'm cultivating space power, right? Yeah, there was a time when I accidentally fell into a space crack and reached a strange area. I found the 1,000-fold lotuses in there. He said seriously as if what he was telling her was the truth. On the other side, Fu Wei felt like she had a bucket of cold water poured on her head. Her excitement vanished rapidly. She was perplexed, sitting idly. Just like that? Shi Yin nodded seriously. Fu Wei suddenly waved her hand helplessly as she looked at him deep in the eye and said, Oh, okay. Thanks for your information. Shi Yin was doubtful, but he didn't ask for more. Seeing her want him to leave, he stood up and left. After he had gone, and Yun tenderly approached, asking with hope, Young elder, did you get any news? Fu Wei gritted her teeth, cursing, That be *starred. He lied to me. I can't trust any word of his. And Yun was astounded. She looked at Fu Wei, who was always calm, getting angry, and felt something strange. What did he say? He said he found them in a space crack. Fu Wei snorted vehemently. The 1,000-fold lotuses can't grow in space crack. Without heaven and earth energy, it will wither and die. That be *starred told me so seriously that if I didn't know the characteristics of the 1,000-fold lotus, he could have even fooled me. Fu Wei clenched her jaw with a lot of resentment as she recalled his serious face when he explained it to her, and hated the fact that she couldn't punch him in the face. Ah, he lied indeed. And Yun smiled bitterly. However, he slipped his tongue. He told me he still has more thousand-fold lotuses. In other words, the place he harvested the flower is 80% or 90% the place our elder used to live at. Fu Wei was touched, but she smiled. Daring to fool me? I will show him how serious his headache could be when he messes with a narrow-minded woman. Chapter 982. Expand the Sea of Consciousness. Chapter 982. Expand the Sea of Consciousness. Inside a grand, conical palace where they could see the deep blue starry sky through the roof. This palace was built with a strange kind of jade which was inlaid with different-sized divine crystals. There were hundreds of thousands of them, filling up each wall of the palace. At this moment, those divine crystals were sparkling like the most beautiful stars, radiating a marvelous light. They formed a massive energy-gathering formation. Heaven and earth energy congregated like dense clusters of cloud from different areas of the Devil Blood Star. They seeped through the conical roof, entering the palace. Such a tremendous energy flowed like a silver galaxy as they shone, reflecting and magnifying each other with the divine crystals inside the palace. They made the energy inside the palace so condensed that people could even touch it. Shi Yin closed his eyes, sitting neatly inside the hall, his face serious. Outside the palace, a troop of 100 demon clansmen was guarding, talking to each other. Madame Wu Lan does favor this man. She let him use our master's training room. I wonder who that man is, a guard said in a lower tone. Is he an illegitimate son of our master? The Devil Cultivating Hall is famous in the entire Agate Star area, refined by the best formation master. I heard that every time they ran it, it will need hundreds of thousands of divine crystals. At the same, it will take a lot of energy from the Devil Blood Star. I don't know what Madame Wu Lan was thinking. She assigned us to guard this place. Well, we're in Devil Blood Star, right? Who dares to burst out crazy here? Well, we have some strangers, remember? Those people from the Potion and Tool Pavilion always have a lot of intelligence. If they interfere, it will affect the operation of our Devil Hall. Wu Lan has brought them to the area our master had divided. Would Master hand that foreigner the land he had taken up 32 years ago? Who knows? Members of Demon Clan frowned as they couldn't guess Wu Lan's thought and intention. Of course, Shi Yin didn't know what they were talking to each other. At this moment, he was concentrating on the blue ice jar in his hand. He wanted to use the 1,000-fold lotus. Swoosh! The 1,000-fold lotus unfolded like a black jewel. Layers of petals bloomed, emerging in front of him. Shi Yan's thought flickered and a dominant suction force was generated, aiming at the 1,000-fold lotus. The 1,000-fold lotus was so massive that it looked like a black pool. 1,000 petals of the flower extended in every direction, which looked like the magical ripples made by the Sea of Consciousness. 1,000-fold lotus was activated as he thought, turning into beams of misty gray light that seeped into his Sea of Consciousness through his glabella. His Sea of Consciousness suddenly seethed and his soul altar spun unceasingly, releasing a terrifying light. His Sea of Consciousness surged, creating a massive vortex to absorb the 1,000-fold lotus. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 1,000-fold lotus shook, melting into that vortex. An immense soul energy diffused, filling each corner of Shi Yan's Sea of Consciousness. Shi Yin felt his head was shaken grumblingly. His soul consciousness flew like a gliding sword, extending towards the edge of the Sea of Consciousness while accelerating fast. Shi Yan's Sea of Consciousness felt as if it were expanded forcefully, and its coverage was enlarged. The soul altar was still revolving as a wisp of pure soul energy emerged from it. Shi Yan's 3 different powers Upanishads in the tier of Upanishads were transforming like outer space divine light. They moved, twisted, and changed like the electric beams weaving into each other. They were stimulated altogether with the seals of Upanishad in his soul. In Shi Yan's Sea of Consciousness, Beams of magical soul energy were released from the thousand-fold lotus. They mingled, blending with his sea of consciousness to expand it. Shi Yin looked serious, but he was actually happy inwardly, giving the flower his compliment. The thousand-fold lotus provided a marvelous support to the soul altar. It could strengthen and expand the sea of consciousness. At the same time, it would fill the soul altar with soul energy, which would accelerate the warrior's breakthrough in his realm and attainment. The thousand-fold lotus was an original incipient grade material, the rarest cultivating material that benefited the soul the most. Even the incipient God realm experts could use the thousand-fold lotus to boost up their soul and expand their sea of consciousness. The larger sea of consciousness could make the soul consciousness more refined and strangely robust. It could increase the power of the soul altar in all aspects. The thousand-fold lotus slowly disappeared into the sea of consciousness, releasing beams of pure soul energy, which then merged with his soul consciousness. As his sea of consciousness was changing, Shi Yin found that the range his soul consciousness could cover was also increased. From his body as the core, Shi Yin seemed to turn into a heavenly eye in the sky which could see things in the nine-tiered sky. He was like an unconcerned god watching over the world. It felt like heaven. Heaven and earth energy poured into his head like a sea current. Together with the energy stimulated from divine crystals in the palace, beams of colorful light moved in his body. They made his aura distant and surging like an imposing mountain or a vast sea, or like the everlasting stars. His star-intent domain was activated silently. Tens of thousands of stars in the sky above the palace twinkled marvelously. Beams of starlight connected, falling like a dense sprinkle. They gathered with heaven and earth energy, entering the palace from the top of the conical roof. Shi Yin seemed to sink into the ocean of energy. His aura became massive and distant, while his face showed his joy. In this cultivating room of Blood Devil, Shi Yan's soul became clear and bright. He had cleared all the sorrows and worries of this mundane world to enjoy the heaven and earth energy, which would benefit his soul altar the most. The pure soul energy from the thousand-fold lotus had doubled his sea of consciousness. After the thousand-fold lotus had fully merged into his soul, Shi Yin sat there absent-mindedly. While he didn't notice, his soul altar had entered the place which hid the incredible primal power Upanishads. He could see so many light streamers moving at breakneck speed. Shi Yin released his soul consciousness, rummaging each power Upanishad light. Suddenly, he was keen enough to sense a spot where the starlight gathered. It had the star energy surging and fluctuating. His mind flickered and soul altar flew out, heading fast to that area. Shortly, he felt like he had fallen into a bright nebula. Countless stars twinkled, each of them moving according to the most incredible principles of the universe. Shi Yan's soul altar moved in the trajectory of the stars. It joined the constellation and moved as if it were learning the changing rules of stars. Inside the palace, his body suddenly projected the starlight, shooting tens of thousands of meters away. Beams of beautiful starlight seemed to be radiated from his pores. They turned him into a massive object that emitted starlight. He looked like a lone star which would never extinguish in this world, living eternally. Beams of starlight sprinkled from above his head, seeping into each cell of his body, congregating in his blood, flesh, and bone, and flooding his sea of consciousness. Shi Yan's countenance was strange and ancient. He seemed to turn into an everlasting rock as his aura gradually calmed down. The divine crystals inlaid on the walls of the palace shattered when their energy was drained. At this moment, those divine crystals exploded, sending clusters of dust and chips everywhere in the palace. Shi Yin acted as if he didn't see it. His soul was still changing, trying to understand the changes in that particular, unknown area. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The immense energy impacted, creating the tornadoes above the palace, pouring into the hall while accelerating. Wu Lan stood by the window of a stone pavilion in a distance. She laid on the windowsill, focusing on Shi Yan's palace as her beautiful eyes sparkled with a strange light. After a while, she chuckled, talking to herself. Taking in the thousand-fold lotus to expand the sea of consciousness, which will help understand the powers Upanishad better. This man is lucky, and his fate is indeed endless. Madam, Fu Wei of the Potion and Tool Pavilion has been waiting for 2 months. Their battleship has arrived, said an old man standing next to Wu Lan. This delivery is for Shi Yan's group. It's a large quantity indeed. They have mobilized their materials from the Potion and Tool Pavilion storages around. Wu Lan nodded gently. She pondered for a while and then said, "You go help them. Ask them to anchor the battleship. We will send our war chariots to transport the materials." The old man nodded, leaving immediately. "Young elder, our battle has arrived." And Yun stood in front of the stone hall, looking at the devil hall where energy was stimulated violently far away. She frowned and then said, "That kid has been in there for 2 months." "Yeah, 2 months. I think he would harvest big this time." Fu Wei's eyes were complicated. He has absorbed 1,000-fold Lotus. His sea of consciousness would expand, and his realm would advance as well. We can't undervalue this man. And Yun nodded discreetly. She hesitated for a while and then said, "He has Haven Flames." Heaven Flames? Fu Wei was bewildered for a while. She turned around and looked at her. "You said his soul has been fused with Heaven Flames?" And Yun nodded. While he's cultivating, the God power energy fluctuating isn't something he can understand at his current realm. Only when he has fused with the origin can he touch the threshold of God power at his original God realm. I think his original soul has the origin as well. Fu Wei was perplexed. She exhaled. Seems this man won't be just an ordinary warrior in the future. However, I'm not sure about his relationship with Blood Devil. Blood Devil's haughty and tyrannical. I never heard of him accepting an apprentice. Moreover, that man isn't a demon clansman, right? And Yun was also skeptical about this. She shook her head. "I don't know." "Yeah, never mind." Fu Wei waved her hand and stopped looking there as she said, "Arrange things? I'm going to check those materials first. When he gets out, I want to trouble him a little bit." Young elder, Wu Lan is a witness. Would she complain? And Yun reminded her. Fu Wei shook her head. "It's okay. Even if we do that, we won't violate the contract." What can she say then? "Ah, Blood Devil is about to come back, isn't he?" "Yeah, together with the 2 guests from the Monster Dragon Star," said In Yun. "All right, I got it." Fu Wei floated up, landing on a war chariot. She left with In Yun. Chapter 983. The information that is worth 10 million. Chapter 983. The information that is worth 10 million _ Energy fluctuated around Devil Hall quieted down. There was no rolling earth and heaven energy pouring into the palace anymore. The rippling energy around Shi Yan gradually faded. He was sitting still on the round platform in the center of Devil Hall. After a while, he opened his eyes and beamed a strange smile. 1,000-fold Lotus was truly an incredible treasure. It had doubled Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. When his soul altar comprehended powers Upanishad, his understanding of his realms became more profound. He suddenly had a premonition that he could break to 3rd sky of original God realm at any time. Now, he just needed to grow his essence chi ancient tree to accumulate energy. Most of the energy from the divine crystals inside Devil Hall, earth and heaven energy, and star energy from the sky had filled his bones and flesh to quench his body another time. However, his essence chi ancient tree didn't have much energy this time. The energy accumulated was enough to reach the limit to have the next breakthrough. After the time breaking to 2nd sky of original God realm, he didn't have a good chance to absorb torrential energy. He didn't have an opportunity to take an essence chi of dead warriors. However, it was a little different this time. Previously, he had never been in a shortage of energy when he got to his breakthrough. He had just had an advancement in his realm. But today, his realm had progressed while his energy hadn't met the required amount yet. Thus, he couldn't enter 3rd sky of original God realm yet. Energy. Haha, seems like I have to find a chaotic place of fighting and killing. Shi Yan smiled, slowly got up, and walked out of the place. It was clear. As long as he could kill some warriors at his realm, the essence chi he could take when they were killed could change his essence chi ancient tree, which would be enough to enter third sky of original God realm. Shi Yin didn't need to worry about energy. Wu Lan, Leona, Long Zhu, Fel Lan, and Na Xian had been waiting for him outside the palace. Seeing him, their eyes brightened. How do you feel? Wu Lan was all smiles. Our master's devil hall is the best place to cultivate. You absorbed the 1,000-fold lotus. You should have a big harvest, right? Leona and the others also looked at him expectantly. I'm now one step away from third sky of original God realm. What I need to do now is to accumulate energy to transform my essence, Qi ancient tree, explained Shi Yin with a smile. Wu Lan appraised sincerely. Your harvest was big indeed. Leona, Fei Lan, and Ka Tua exchanged looks. They couldn't help but grin inwardly. They knew Shi Yan's secrets. People would need time to accumulate the required amount of energy. However, it wasn't a big deal for Shi Yin. They had even thought that Shi Yin had already broken through to third sky of original God realm, since accumulating energy was just a piece of cake for him. Where are the people from Potion and Tool Pavilion? Asked Shi Yin. They've arrived. Wu Lan looked in the distance. Oh right, they'll be here immediately. Indeed, shortly after, war chariots loaded with piles of materials roared in the sky and flew towards them. Fu Wei and In Yun stood on the leading war chariot. I'm sorry, but we have a problem. As soon as Fu Wei arrived, she exhaled reluctantly, speaking to Shi Yin. The source of power Upanishad inheritance you've ordered has been sold before that. I'm afraid that we can't deliver it within a short time. Wu Lan frowned. Shi Yin was bewildered. Long Zhu and Yang Zhua came here with excitement, and the most important thing they cared about was the source of power Upanishad inheritance. Hearing her, their excitement was cooled down cruelly. They stood there baffled. The materials they had bought from Potion and Tool Pavilion cost 2 million divine crystals, but only the source of power Upanishad inheritance had accounted for 1 million divine crystals. Potion and Tool Pavilion was generous to give them a discount for the source of power Upanishad inheritance. This was also the item that they thought they had taken the greatest advantage of. The source of power Upanishad inheritance was what they needed the most. They all felt discontent when Fu Wei said that they couldn't deliver it within a short time. Wu Lan studied Fu Wei, her bold brows knitting together. She didn't have her usual smile on her face anymore. Fu Wei Mei, what do you mean? When we negotiated, you said that it wasn't a problem to order source of power Upanishad inheritance. You said it would be shipped together with the other materials. You said that, didn't you? I did say that. Fu Wei nodded. She didn't deny it. But I didn't expect that our pavilion would sell the nearest source of power Upanishad inheritance to someone else. You guys have ordered a high-grade source of power Upanishad inheritance. Currently, the nearest storage that keeps this kind of source of power Upanishad inheritance is a distance that would take several years to travel. I didn't expect this. I'm so sorry. Shi Yin darkened his face. When will you be able to deliver the new source of power Upanishad inheritance? Well, it's hard to say, Fu Wei sighed. If everything goes smoothly, I estimate that it will take around 3 years. But if something unexpected happens, I'm not sure then. Wu Lan frowned, looking at Fu Wei deep in the eye. Mei, you don't want to bear the loss, so you're trying to delay the item, aren't you? It's true that you can't earn profit from selling source of power Upanishad inheritance at 1 million divine crystals, but you agreed to this price. Do you think it's not quite appropriate when you rethink your loss? No, it's not like that, Fu Wei said naturally. Our business has a contract, but it doesn't regulate the arrival time of source of power Upanishad inheritance. You can't say we violated the contract. We just need to wait for a period. I only said that you have to wait for it for a little longer. Yang Zhua sighed, talking to Shi Yin. We have many members who don't have a power Upanishad to enter their right cultivating track. They are all waiting hopefully. They hope that they could use source of power Upanishad inheritance to find a power Upanishad suitable for them. 3 years isn't long, but if we miss one more day, we can't take it back, especially when they all want to make some progress. Shi Yin looked at Fu Wei for a while. He suddenly said, could you come up with some solutions? Fu Wei dropped her arms, talking begrudgingly. I'm thinking. Give me more time. Before I leave Devil Bloodstar, I will tell you. Shi Yan's face became darker. He vaguely felt that Fu Wei was making excuses. She was trying to trouble them. However, he had no way to quarrel with her. He felt a little worried. When did I offend this woman? Shi Yan asked himself, being skeptical. Leona looked at Fu Wei. She seemed to have a dark green halo slowly expanding on her body. A magical energy fluctuated uncontrollably. The light around her body disappeared, making her area pitch black. She instantly sensed the change her anger had called. She hurried to retrieve her power. And Yun was waiting on the war chariot. Seeing that, her eyes had an unclear halo. She looked at Leona and said, "Ma'am, are you cultivating dark power Upanishad?" Leona was baffled. Shi Yan frowned and couldn't help but look at Yun. "You know dark power Upanishad?" Wulan was also astounded, looking at Yun. Yun flew out of the war chariot, landing in front of Shi Yan and Leona. Her face was severe. "I saw a man who cultivated this power Upanishad. It's rare, indeed. Our source of power Upanishad inheritance can't carve it. This isn't some kinds of power Upanishad source of power Upanishad inheritance can contain." You met someone who used it?" Leona's dark green eyes brightened as she stared at the woman. "Who did you see?" "That person seems to not be from our agate star area. I don't know where he's from, but he used this power Upanishad." And Yun pondered for a while. "He has a brother. That man also has a special power Upanishad, which could erode everything." Phelan was numb. "Our potion and tool pavilion always collect special powers Upanishads to carve in our source of power Upanishad inheritance. Since their powers Upanishad are peculiar, we used to try to carve them in the source, but we failed." Yun explained as she thought that it wasn't something she could conceal. Leona and Phelan were stimulated. They shouted in unison, "Where are they?" Leona's father and Phelan's man used to be inexplicably mighty in Raging Flame Star area. They cultivated dark power and corrosion power respectively. Many years ago, they disappeared mysteriously. No one had seen them ever since. The star map led to Agate Star area. The two of them knew the direction. Leona and Phelan used to think that they had entered Agate Star area. However, since it was a vast star area, they didn't know where to find them. Listening to Yun, they were moved to tears. Yun could see their emotions. She thought and exchanged looks with Fu Wei. Fu Wei nodded, her eyes smiling weakly. Yun knew what to do. Her face changed immediately. She said arrogantly, "Besides cultivating materials, our potion and tool pavilion does sell intelligence. This information is precious anyway. I think it's not realistic to tell you for free, right?" Leona and Phelan were stiff. They couldn't help but look at Shi Yan, their eyes begging. Shi Yan nodded and said to Yun and Fu Wei, "How many divine crystals are needed for that information?" 10 million. Fu Wei considered for a while and then said indifferently. Everybody discolored. Wulan couldn't hold it anymore, hissing, "Fu Wei Mei, do you think you've gone too far? What kind of information is worth 10 million divine crystals?" Fu Wei didn't change her face. She didn't look at the woman, but explained to Shi Yan. "The most expensive intelligence was sold at 100 million. This one needs only 10 million. I deem it appropriate. Do you want it or not?" Leona and Phelan didn't say much. They just looked at Shi Yan with begging eyes. This was the first time they asked Shi Yan for something. Leona's father and Phelan's man were the overlords of the dark sky that year. Since they cultivated dark power Upanishad and corrosion Upanishad, they were somehow related to Shi Yan. Whichever the purpose was, he needed to know their general direction. Shi Yan took a deep breath. He was about to agree with that price. Right at this moment, Fu Wei smiled tenderly. "Of course, we can exchange intelligence. You have the information I want. We can exchange." Shi Yan was astounded. Fu Wei spoke to Wulan, making an excuse. "I want to talk to him in private." Talking in private again? Wulan was surprised, talking instinctively. "You trouble them on purpose just to have a chance to talk to him in private? Aren't you being too obvious?" Fu Wei blushed like she got pink clouds on her cheeks. She glanced at the woman and then said to Shi Yan, "We need to talk?" "Shi Yan," Phelan called. I also want to hear. Leona agreed with her. Okay, Shi Yin nodded. Seems like I can't talk to you alone. Would you mind? No problem. Fu Wei also exhaled in relief discreetly. She felt a bit excited. She was happy as she found Shi Yan's weakness. She spoke to In Yun and then left with Shi Yan's team to the palace they were staying. Chapter 984. Exchange Information. Chapter 984. Exchange Information _ Fei Lan and Leona wore a dark and stern face. Their lines of sight were on In Yun. They had great anticipation on their faces. Fu Wei and In Yun were relaxed. The more restless Fei Lan and Leona were, the more confident they became. Exchanging looks, Fu Wei and In Yun were discreetly happy. They felt calmer too. Shi Yin sat on a soft couch, frowning. He pondered for a while and then asked, "What do you want to know?" Fu Wei parted her lips into a gentle smile, her face calm when she spoke. "I want to know where you got the 1,000-fold lotus. Didn't I tell you about that?" Shi Yin rolled his eyes at her, his face dark and unpleasant. "It's impossible for the 1,000-fold lotus to grow in a space crack," and Yun snorted. "If you aren't sincere, don't blame us for fabricating things." Fei Lan and Leona were stiff. They turned to look at Shi Yin. Shi Yin pondered for a while and sighed reluctantly. "All right, we will talk about the conditions first. Please do tell us." Fu Wei leaned over, showing her attention. "As long as you tell me the truth, I'm sure I can give you the answer you want." Pausing for a while, Fu Wei smiled. "I will also figure out how to bring you a new source of power Upanishad inheritance. I think I can deliver one in half a month." Listening to her, Shi Yan's eyes brightened, gazing at her. Fu Wei said it clearly, and Shi Yan wasn't a fool. He immediately confirmed that Fu Wei had lied to them. They hadn't sold the source of power Upanishad inheritance yet. She just wanted to trouble them. At this moment, he couldn't calculate much. Shi Yan pouted his lips and said, "You tell us first?" And Yun looked at Fu Wei. Fu Wei nodded gently, smiling. "To express our sincerity, we'll say our intel first." She signaled In Yun. And Yun started immediately. The other two were confined in Shadow Ghostly Prison by Dark Shadow Clan. The Dark Shadow Clan has always dwelled in Shadow Ghostly Prison. This clan doesn't operate in the other areas of Agate Star area. No other clan is more familiar with Shadow Ghostly Prison than the Dark Shadow Clan. Dark Shadow Clan? It's the Dark Shadow Clan again. Shi Yin suddenly looked ferocious. When he spoke to Ghost Hunter in the Blackwater Star, he knew that the Dark Shadow Clan had killed the king of demonic insects, devouring gold silkworm, and holy spirit god. The Dark Shadow Clan was a unique force of its kind in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. It was also the most influential force that ran amok without any fear. They moved like ghosts, getting in and out of different space channels. They were very familiar with the place. Dark Shadow Clan only dwelled in the Shadow Ghostly Prison. They often emerged in the middle of the chaotic area where battles never stopped to hunt down warriors. This was a mysterious race with Coldine god bodies. People said that it wasn't a race from Agate Star area. This clan came from another star area through a space crack. There were many strange legends of the Dark Shadow Clan. Rumors said that this clan was the vanguard from some strong star area. They came to spearhead in the Shadow Ghostly Prison and gather information. One day, they were going to cause a catastrophe to Agate Star area. Apparently, people had no way to prove the rumors or legends. However, it was true that this clan wasn't welcomed in Agate Star area. If they got out of the Shadow Ghostly Prison, the other clans would hunt them down. The reason was also unknown. However, Dark Shadow Clan was like fish in water staying in Shadow Ghostly Prison. They understood the mysteries of those space slits deeply. They didn't stay on a fixed base. No one knew where its headquarters was. Yeah, they were confined by the Dark Shadow Clan. Our potion and tool pavilion used to have a business with the Dark Shadow Clan. I used to be in charge of collecting special powers Upanishad and carving them on source of power Upanishad inheritance. I was lucky that I met them once. And Yun frowned, explaining in detail. Dark Shadow Clan wanted us to extract the powers Upanishad of the other two. They had paid a large sum to invite us. However, we couldn't extract their powers Upanishad from the Soul Altar. Our deal failed, indeed. However, I remembered them because of their special powers Upanishad. However, I'm not sure if they are still alive now. The last time I saw them, it was several hundred years ago. And Yun continued to tell them about the situation and then advised Shi Yin. I suggest aborting the thought of going to Shadow Ghostly Prison to rescue the two of them, even if they have a close relationship with you. The Dark Shadow Clan in Shadow Ghostly Prison is truly mighty. Pausing for a while, and Yun said earnestly, "You guys can't fight the Dark Shadow Clan." Fei Lan and Leona listened to her, their faces becoming dark. Flames of rage burst in their eyes. The two men were the most important ones to them, and the Dark Shadow Clan had been confining them for so many years. The women didn't know what had happened to them, either. After hundreds of years, it was hard to tell if they were still alive. The Dark Shadow Clan might have tortured them for years. That's all I know. And Yun took a deep breath, her face changing to a more serious expression. Can you tell us what you know now? Fu Wei's blue eyes glowed. Her face was focused, waiting with hope. I took them in Old Orchid Star. Shi Yin didn't conceal it this time. He said faintly, "We discovered and dug up a mysterious city underground. The thousand-fold lotus were inside that city. They grew in a dark water pool inside a palace. That palace was buried deep underground of Old Orchid Star where gravity was thousands of times heavier. Someone had used the mountains as the formation eyes to sink the city deep underground. We accidentally found how to dig it up." Shi Yin explained simply. Fu Wei and Yun listened to him. Their eyes brightened as they couldn't hold their excitement. That runaway elder cultivated gravity power Upanishad. Fu Wei's soft body shivered. She couldn't control her joy as she became more certain. "Did you find anything strange in that mysterious city?" Shi Yin was alert. Looking at Fu Wei's and Yun's happy faces, he had a plan. "No. Besides the thousand-fold lotus, we didn't see anything strange." "Oh, right. There was a tough building inside the city. We couldn't open it. Perhaps it had something strange or marvelous. I don't know." Fu Wei's eyes glistened. She smiled and nodded slightly. And Yun was also stirred up. She clenched her fists as she was satisfied and cheered up. The cannon was related to the future Pavilion master position. If their party could get the cannon, they would step on that peak of glory. They could overturn the bad situation in one step. How could they not crack like crazy when they finally got clues of the lost cannon? The source of power Upanishad inheritance will be delivered soon. I'm sure it won't be delayed this time. Fu Wei was happy, giving Shi Yin a firm answer. Right after that, she waved her hand, smiling tenderly. "All right, we're done with this business." Shi Yin didn't say more. He got up and left immediately. Fei Lan and Leona followed him. "Contact the pavilion immediately. Send some battleships to Old Orchid Star." After Shi Yin had left, Fu Wei jolted up from her seat. Her soft body shivered as she gave her order. And Yun was so happy she couldn't hide it. She nodded continually. "We got a big harvest this time. I didn't expect to get the information of the cannon. Young Elder, should we just ignore Blood Devil and the two leaders of the Monster Dragon, start a travel to Old Orchid Star in Far West region directly?" Fu Wei was also moved. However, she got herself together quickly, shaking her head. "It's too far. If we go there personally, we will delay them. Let Lord Duo go first." And Yun smiled. "Okay, it's the same if they go there. However, they must do it quickly and must not disclose this information." "I'll arrange it myself." Fu Wei looked very happy. "Shi Yin?" Fei Lan wanted to say something, but she didn't finish. It was rare to see her embarrassed countenance. Leona didn't say anything. She just looked at him, and from her eyes, he knew what she wanted to say. "I know what you want to say," Shi Yin smiled. "You want to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison, right?" The two of them nodded. "Wait several days more. I also want to go there." "We'll go together," said Shi Yin. Fei Lan and Leona were surprised. They pondered for a while, and then Fei Lan said, "It has nothing to do with you. The Dark Shadow Clan is mighty. You don't need to take risks for us." "It matters to me." Shi Yin pointed at his glabella, indicating the relations between the blood marks. Then, he waved his hand. "I still have things to do. I have a friend in Shadow Ghostly Prison. Also, Dark Shadow Clan has killed some of my friends. I'm waiting for Blood Devil to return. I have to meet him once. After I've properly arranged the giant tribe and people from Grace Mainland, I'm going with you guys to Shadow Ghostly Prison. Do you really want to go? Fei Lan was surprised. Yeah, we will bring Ka-Tua together. You three can obtain more benefits from me. Shi Yin pondered and then told them. Fei Lan and Leona didn't advise him anymore. They felt touched. From this moment, they started to have different feelings for him, which wasn't simply because of the chain relationship they had from the blood mark. 15 days later, a new war chariot arrived to deliver a high-grade source of power Upanishad inheritance. Shi Yin paid them 2 million divine crystals to finish his business with potion and tool pavilion. Warriors of Grace Mainland and Raging Flame Star Area were so thrilled when they knew that the high-grade source of power Upanishad inheritance had arrived. They were eager to try the marvelous powers Upanishad stored in it. Shi Yin assigned Feng Ku and Long Zhu to arrange these chores. He gathered with Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka-Tua in the main hall, waiting for Blood Devil. That day, Wu Lan called Shi Yin, smiled and said firmly, "Our master is about to come home. The chiefs of the Evil Dragon Tribe and Brutal Dragon Tribe also go with him. Master asked me to tell you that he wants to meet you immediately." "Oh yes, I'm waiting for him." Shi Yin smiled, prying, "How is he?" "Arg, it's hard to tell. You will have to check him yourself." Wu Lan smiled, her eyes strange. She didn't want to explain further. Shi Yin became skeptical. Chapter 985. Blood Devil. Chapter 985. Blood Devil _ Center Devil Blood Star. Shi Yin, Wu Lan, and the experts of the Demon Clan were waiting in silence. They lifted their faces to watch the sky. Besides Wu Lan, there were 10 Demon Clansmen who had reached third sky of Ethereal God Realm. One of them had even reached incipient God Realm threshold. However, there was no exception since they all had respectful countenances. They were supportive and utterly loyal to Blood Devil. People had quickly forgotten Blood Devil's real name. Blood Devil was his current title, which had spread out across the entire Agate Star area. He was one of the overlords of the Demon Clan with a high position in the clan. They had many adjectives to describe Blood Devil: brutal, bloodthirsty, lustful, unrestrained, autocratic, and more. It seemed like they had no good words to describe him. However, Blood Devil lived well and enjoyed his life. Many hated him and wanted to kill him. However, nobody had really made Blood Devil pay any bloody prices of yet. Fu Wei and An Yun of Potion and Tool Pavilion also received the news. They knew Blood Devil was about to come back. They emerged from their palace and walked to Shi Yin's. After Fu Wei saw Shi Yin, she smiled weakly and nodded to greet him. Shi Yin also smiled to greet her. The source of power Upanishad inheritance had been delivered to their territory. Although the process was a bit troublesome, the result had satisfied Shi Yin. Thus, his attitude towards Fu Wei wasn't bad. Everybody waited in silence. After 6 hours, earth-shattering explosions echoed from a deep place in the sky. Dark clouds that looked like black water ink gathered in the sky of the Devil Blood Star. They were so thick they couldn't disperse easily. Boom, boom. The terrible noise of energy impact had almost shaken the entire Devil Blood Star. Accompanying the horrible explosions were wild screams that made people restlessly anxious. They felt very tiny under this circumstance. Boom, boom, boom. Energy exploded in the sky. Layers of demonic clouds turned into a massive hand that covered the sky. It looked as if it was about to tear the whole sky. 2 gigantic silhouettes ran through the void. They turned into their dragon forms shortly after. Each of them was several thousand meters tall. They emerged like mountain ranges on the horizon, making people respect and admire them. A massive dragon fell through the thick layers of demonic clouds, barging on a corner of the Devil Blood Star. Right after that, the entire star shook and people felt like it was sinking into the vast universe. No one knew a force that even a planet couldn't endure. Wahaha, damn you reptile. Now you know how strong I am? A haughty voice arose from the clouds. Right after that, a spectacularly robust man descended. His body was covered in blood. It was a hunky, half-naked demon man. He had only a leather skirt around his waist. The black rock-like muscles in his body emerged and connected with each other like they were ropes. His thumb-sized vessels bulged like snakes winding around his entire body. The abundant energy was moving and twirling inside the vessels unceasingly. His knees, shoulders, and elbows had bushes of sharp and pointy spikes like daggers. He looked as if he was made of brown rock while the dark, energy-like bones covered the soft areas of his god body. He had a fierce and brutal face, and his eyes were malignant. He looked like an innate fighter who would never stop fighting and was born to fight. His god body was perfect with the beauty of power. The curves of his bursting muscles scared people as he released the intimidating aura that was as oppressive as an imposing mountain. Members of the demon clan kneeled down to greet him and called him master. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The void rumbled. People heard the dragon roaring angrily. Shortly after, the two dragon monster experts, which were as big as the mountain range, appeared together. They then transformed into their humanoid forms. The two of them all had rough and archaic appearances as if they were made of steel and iron. They were around 3 meters tall, wearing beautiful and luxurious clothes. However, their faces were filled with anger as they glared at the muscular demon man. Gute, your body quenching has been a little bit bad recently. Mwahaha. I struck you down right from there. Seems like your brutal dragon clan was about to change the monarch then. The demon man smiled evilly. I heard you recruited a kid called Ghost Hunter. You like him very much. Is it true that you're preparing the apprentice for the brutal dragon tribe since you know you're about to be doomed? Well, who got struck to the ground in the monster dragon star? Said the monster man, his voice like thunderclaps. This place is the Devil Blood Star, your territory. Of course, you can have some boosts. What will be counted if you take advantage of this place? If you have the guts, come out and fight. Good. The demon man laughed crazily. I'm going to smash you in this Devil Blood Star. Come here. The monster man roared. An incomparable aura diffused violently. The tough ground around him cracked. Many demon clansmen whose realms weren't high were pressed to the ground. They couldn't even lift their heads. Master! 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 The demon clansman forced a smile, screaming hurriedly. Oh please, we have guests here. Wulon grimaced and shouted, Precursors, could you please calm down? Please don't make people laugh at us. Who's Yin? One of the monster men suddenly shouted, his eyes glistening. Wulon, Fu Wei, and the others looked at Yin. The 3 imposing men had fought each other from outer space to this place. They halted and couldn't help but follow the line of sight of the others. Ha 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 ha. Blood Devil immediately laughed cheerfully. Our immortal demon tribe's descendant, indeed. I feel so familiar with the aura of immortal demon blood from him. Ha ha. Daddy has finally found a fellow of my tribe. Yin suddenly wanted to smile. He looked at Blood Devil and felt so close. This clingy feeling came from his blood. It felt like he had finally reunited with his family members who've been missing for years. He felt calm and pacific. My son McGee told me that you had saved him twice in the space crack. Seems like you're predestined with our tribe, though. Chief Bath of the evil dragon tribe laughed, nodded powerfully. Then, he turned to Gute. I heard that Ghost Hunter is Yan's best friend. I didn't expect that this man had relation to our tribes like this. Yeah, such a good fate. Fu Wei and people of Potion and Tool Pavilion were baffled. They looked at Yin with many thoughts in their heads. McGee was Bath's son. This little evil dragon was always arrogant. He was a true troublemaker in Agate Star area. Ghost Hunter was the new star of the brutal dragon tribe. He was in the list of subjects of intensive study by Potion and Tool Pavilion. They thought that he could possibly become the new leader of the monster clan, so they had to pay close attention to him. Yin had a close relationship with both McGee and Ghost Hunter, which surprised Fu Wei a lot. She looked at Yin with astonishment. A fellow of Blood Devil's tribe. having a good relationship with the potential leaders of the brutal dragon tribe and evil dragon tribe. Who was this man? Why have we never heard of him before? The staff of Potion and Tool Pavilion was discreetly astonished. They decided that they had to investigate Shiyan's identity. They also decided that they must put him into their list of special characters that they needed to keep track of. Blood Devil, Bath, and Gu-Te stood there while the earth and heaven energy of Devil Blood Star was uncontrollably congregating around them. If they used the soul consciousness to sense, they could see the energy streaming into their bodies like a river that never stopped flowing. None of the other people presenting here, including Shiyan, could take in earth and heaven energy like the three of them. It looked like with their presence, no one could take the light of glory. This tyrannical feature had scared Shiyan. It was the first time Shiyan had seen existences at incipient God realm. This imposing impression was like a mountain running directly into his soul, which could disperse his fighting will right before the battle. He had a helpless feeling of being a loser when he stood in front of them. You guys talk to people from Potion and Tool Pavilion. I'm going to talk to him. Blood Devil thought, and then retrieved his imposing aura. He rose his hand and grabbed the air. The energy in the void turned into a dark light curtain, dragging Shiyan away. Shortly after, Blood Devil brought Shiyan to a place that no one knew. Bath and Gu-Te didn't bother with it since they knew that was how Blood Devil was. They just smiled, walking towards Fu Wei. Bath said, "Lately, our monster dragon star has been doing business with the great elder of your Potion and Tool Pavilion. But I heard Blood Devil said that you and Great Elder have some disputes. He told us to do business with you directly. Of course, we will give him face to do this." Fu Wei's blue eyes reflected her happiness. She smiled weakly, speaking to them tenderly. "Thank you for your favor, precursors. I won't fail you." Gu-Te waved his hand. "I'm not interested in your internal conflict. As long as you offer me good prices and a promotion, you'll have me on your side. Haha, even if you guys have an internal war, as long as you pay us well, our monster dragon star can give you a force." Fu Wei was shy, explaining earnestly, "Our Potion and Tool Pavilion won't have an exposed conflict." "Precursor, don't say it like that. Anyway, I appreciate your offer." Bath and Gu-Te sauntered towards Fu Wei. They started to discuss their business. Wurland's team immediately excused themselves, leaving space for them to negotiate. West Side, Devil Blood Star. Inside a dense forest where demon chi was as thick as the surging sea sat a pool with seething, bubbling blood. Energy visibly fluctuated from this thickly viscous red fluid. Blood Devil brought Shiyan by a pool. Pointing at the pool, he said, "This place benefits our cultivation a lot. It can stimulate immortal demon blood. Yeah, this place is exclusively for me. But you can come here to cultivate, too. It's good for your immortal demon blood condensation." Shiyan thanked him. He was startled. This blood pool uses a lot of cultivating materials, right? It uses several million divine crystals each year, nodded Blood Devil. "Besides me, can other people come here and cultivate?" asked Shiyan gingerly. "Unless he has the same immortal demon blood like you, he can't endure staying in this blood pool. One must have the powerful recovery power." "How about people who are part of the immortal demon bloodline but haven't condensed immortal demon blood yet?" "Of course, but they can't cultivate for a long time. They need to adjust and adapt to the pool slowly." Blood Devil was surprised. He became thrilled instantly. "Except for you, there is someone with the immortal demon blood?" "Yes, many." "Where are they?" "They are in this Devil Blood Star. People from the direct descendants of the Yang family with the immortal martial spirit all are part of immortal demon tribe's lineage. However, they haven't stimulated the power to condense immortal demon blood yet." Blood Devil's eyes glittered. He burst out laughing. "Good. I will no longer be lonely. I want to bring the immortal demon tribe to the greatest height of development. I will make the immortal demon tribe one of the strongest tribe in Agate Star area." Chapter 986, Power Upanishad in the Bloodline. Chapter 986, Power Upanishad in the Bloodline _ A corner of Devil Blood Star. Inside the viscous blood pool, Shiyan and Blood Devil were soaked. Blood in the pool bubbled with hovering mist. Beams of blood mist seeped into Shi Yan's pores and entered his vessels. He could feel his immortal demon blood get nurtured. Shortly after, a drop of immortal demon blood was generated. This blood pool consumes a lot of cultivating materials, and the main material is the immortal grass. The juice of this grass is a great support to condense immortal demon blood. We buy almost all of the immortal grass of Agate Star area through Potion and Tool Pavilion. Blood Devil smiled, explaining the ingredients and functions of this blood pool to Shi Yan. Cultivating in the blood pool can accelerate our blood condensation. Usually, I have to consume immortal demon blood when fighting other people, so I come to this pool to generate more. Shi Yan felt so comfortable as the immortal demon blood was condensed in his body. His face was calm and happy with a smile. Yeah, it's extremely suitable for our cultivation. Show me your soul altar. I want to observe it, said Blood Devil with a smile. While talking, he released his soul altar. It was a 4-tiered soul altar, which was like the most beautiful and clear ruby. Tiers of Sea of Consciousness, Power Upanishad, incipient extent, and his soul piled on top of each other. Each tier was connected to another tier with thick blood chi, which was somehow similar to the blood pool. Blood Devil's Sea of Consciousness was red and vast. When he showed it, it was more like a vast, torrential blood sea with real blood scent. Above the Sea of Consciousness was the Powers Upanishad, where there were 2 moving powers. One was the metal power and the other sent around the vigorous life energy. Shi Yan was startled. His face became strange as he couldn't help but shout, "Life Power Upanishad!" While screaming, he also showed his soul altar. Compared to Blood Devil's, his soul altar was simpler. It had only 3 tiers. Above Blood Devil's tier of Power Upanishad was a blood chunk. It was his incipient extent. It was a cluster of blood mist. Shi Yan couldn't see anything inside that incipient extent. Blood Devil heard his amazed scream, and he just laughed. Yeah, it's the Life Power Upanishad. It's a special and yet unique Power Upanishad. Potion and Tool Pavilion's source of Power Upanishad inheritance doesn't have it. I've developed and cultivated it myself from the characteristics of immortal demon blood. The immortal demon blood has a powerful self-healing ability. It has vigorous life energy, which is a sign of Life Power Upanishad. Life Power Upanishad is our main power. People with immortal demon blood all cultivate this power. It's the most suitable Power Upanishad for us. Pausing for a while, his eyes brightened up as he looked at Shi Yan. Don't you cultivate Life Power Upanishad too? Blood Devil had reached incipient God realm. Of course, his keen eye wasn't something other people could have. After just a first glance, sweeping over the surface of Shi Yan's soul altar, he confirmed that Shi Yan also has Life Power Upanishad in his tier of Powers Upanishad. However, Blood Devil was startled, looking at him bewilderedly. Your tier of Powers Upanishad doesn't seem normal. You have 2 souls? I fused with the origin. My soul and the heaven flames were combined and created that co-soul. Shi Yan smiled. Indeed, my soul altar and others aren't similar. Your Life Power Upanishad isn't very similar to mine, either. Blood Devil studied Shi Yan's soul altar, frowning. Your Life Power Upanishad seems to blend with another Power Upanishad. Is it a mixed Power Upanishad? My Power Upanishad is called Death and Life. It's a mixed power between Death Upanishad and Life Upanishad. I don't know what happened. Shi Yan nodded. It's different from yours. The 2 powers of my Power Upanishad can't be separated. You had fused them after you got them, or it began that way? Blood Devil suddenly became tense. He was a little afraid. Since the day I've comprehended it, it has happened that way. Death and Life Power Upanishad is one. They have never separated, explained Shi Yan. Blood Devil contemplated. After a long time, he woke up from some of his deep thoughts. Did you get some special Power Upanishad inheritance? As I know, it's very hard to fuse Life Power Upanishad with the other Power Upanishad. And to fuse with the Death Power Upanishad, the totally opposite Power Upanishad, is impossible. This is over my understanding of Powers Upanishads. Yes, I got the other inheritance, Shi Yin didn't conceal. He didn't know why he felt so close to Blood Devil. Perhaps it was because of the bloodline. This feeling was the same as what he got for Yang Tian Emperor. Shi Yin had instinctively considered Blood Devil his family. As you have a combined power Upanishad between death power and life power, your future achievements will surpass me. Life power Upanishad is carried within our immortal demon tribe's blood. It's a more complex martial spirit to be inherited. It's based on the blood of the family. Blood Devil's eyes glistened. To our immortal demon tribe members, when we've reached a specific level, we would have a deep understanding of immortal demon blood, which would naturally develop the life power Upanishad. This is the unique blood trace of our tribe. If the other races want to learn life power Upanishad, they have to have a really good fate. Of course, even if they got life power Upanishad, they wouldn't be able to cultivate it as easily as we do. It's because our immortal demon blood is gifted with the true meanings of life power Upanishad. Each member of the immortal demon tribe considers life power to be their main power to cultivate because this power and the immortal demon blood support each other. Immortal demon blood can make our understanding of life power Upanishad deeper. Life power Upanishad can strengthen immortal demon blood. This is the most suitable power Upanishad for our tribe. Anyway, you've mixed life power and death power together. It's strange but great. It's much more profound than what I've thought. Death power Upanishad is even rarer than life power Upanishad. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it before. Kid, your fortune's much better than mine, indeed. Blood Devil continued to compliment him. Shi Yin listened to Blood Devil's instruction attentively. To this precursor of the immortal demon tribe at second sky of incipient god realm, Shi Yin admired and respected him wholeheartedly. Your realm is too low, so your cognition of life power Upanishad is shallow. I will show you how to use the life power Upanishad to urge immortal demon blood. I will show you to what level of a miracle it can do. Blood Devil pondered for a while before waving his hand, shooting out 2 drops of ruby immortal demon blood. 1 drop of immortal demon blood flew towards a 3-meter-tall tree next to them. When the drop of blood seeped into the root, a vigorous life energy surged instantly. The small tree thrived fast. The tree trunk expanded, leaves unfolded, and branches jutted outwards. The little tree grew at a speed that the naked eye could observe. Shortly after, it turned into a massive, towering tree. The powerful healing ability of immortal demon blood could be applied to any creature that can receive vitality, including trees, foliage, and people from any races. Blood Devil grinned. If my subordinates can achieve merits, I can use my immortal demon blood to boost their bodies to the utmost when they get hurt. It's a way I help them quench their god bodies. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Now let's see what the other drop of blood can do. Blood Devil extended his arm, shouted curtly. The other drop of immortal demon blood floated in the air. It then started to develop, changing miraculously. A small skeleton slowly emerged in the drop of blood. Next, it started to grow vessels, tendons, and flesh. Shortly after, that drop of immortal demon blood had developed into another Blood Devil. Demon blood has the ability of rebirth. Blood Devil stiffened his face, talking seriously. When we can utilize 1 drop of blood to the acme, it can develop to eventually become our god body. Then, we just need time to accumulate energy, and we can recover the sturdy body we used to have. If I fight someone to the death, unless he destroys my body entire and burns all of my immortal demon blood, I can grow a new body even if I have only 1 drop remaining. In other words, as long as we still have immortal demon blood, our body is undying. Shi Yin was frightened. You may know how to use the immortal demon blood to urge life power Upanishad to heal yourself, and you've used it well. I now will open another door for you to adopt and utilize the power Upanishad and immortal demon blood to a higher level. You can study yourself. Blood Devil smiled. You have to figure out yourself how to perform this ability. Everybody has different experience and physique, so their understanding and cognition of immortal demon blood and life power Upanishad are different. My path perhaps won't be suitable for you. If we force it, it will disorient your progress. That's why I didn't explain it in detail. I just told you the other ability of immortal demon blood. Shi Yin nodded. his face filled with respect. Suddenly, he heard a soft call from his soul. It was the blood vein ring. His mind flickered. Shi Yin put his soul altar back to the god body, using his soul to contact the blood vein ring. Impart your death power Upanishad to him. That's the way we make his inheritance continue. The blood vein ring sent him messages. That man was one of the members of the Cortege of Eight, the one who cultivated death and life power Upanishad. He was also a precursor of the immortal demon tribe. Originally, he had only the life power Upanishad. After he had followed our master bestowed upon him the death power Upanishad. That's how both death and life powers Upanishad coexist. You impart his death power Upanishad to this man. When death and life combine in one, he will reach the peak. Then, he may become your right hand. Shi Yin was surprised. You've restored? Not yet, but almost. I remember many things now. However, my memory isn't complete. It still needs a small part to be fully fused. After that, I will remember everything, said the blood vein ring. How can I impart the death power Upanishad to Blood Devil? Asked Shi Yin. You send your soul to Blood Devil's forehead and gather your soul energy at the blood mark. Leave the rest to me, answered the blood vein ring. Shi Yin was astounded. He looked at Blood Devil and then said, I can pass on the death power Upanishad to you. You can combine death and life powers Upanishad then. Death power Upanishad can take vitality and strengthen life power Upanishad. And it can also help condense more immortal demon blood. Blood Devil was bewildered. He looked at Shi Yin while thinking it was impossible. You want to pass on the death power Upanishad to me? You have only original God realm and I'm at incipient God realm. You think you can impart the power Upanishad to me? How about giving it a try? Shi Yin said seriously. Are you sure? Imparting power Upanishad is very complicated. I think you haven't mastered it yet. And a low realm warrior giving power Upanishad to higher realm warrior is even more dangerous. You are kidding, right? Blood Devil scratched his head, his face awkward. You'll know shortly. I'm sure you'll be all right. What could happen to me? I'm worried about you. Just try. You really want to do it. All right, but you have to be very careful. When you find that it's difficult, you must terminate the action. Okay. Chapter 987. Make the imprint. Chapter 987. Make the imprint _ Blood Devil's torso was naked. His muscles were lean and connected with each other like rocks. Each of his muscles was beautifully filled with exploding energy. He was agitated, frowning deeply as he looked at Shi Yin's soul flying away and entering his forehead little by little. Making the god body open to let another's soul enter was extremely dangerous to any warrior. Opening the god body meant to put down all kind of defensive abilities. This would put the warrior's soul into a perilous situation. If the other had some ambiguous intention, he could destroy that warrior's body with a little trick and even hurt the foundation of that warrior. Blood Devil didn't hesitate to open his body to Shi Yin. He trusted Shi Yin. Blood Devil had retrieved his aura. Now he was defenseless. Shi Yin was calm, but seeing him like this, he was a little anxious. He really appreciated Blood Devil's trust to him. However, he was afraid that the ring spirit wouldn't be able to handle this and cause some trouble. Any problem? Shi Yin instinctively sent a message to the ring spirit. Unless you're 100% sure, I think we should stop. I'm afraid that we could make mistakes. Don't worry, I know how to do it. With my current abilities, passing on the power Upanishad inheritance isn't a problem, replied the ring spirit. Then, it urged Shi Yin. Get through his glabella. Shi Yin's soul floated. Receiving the ring spirit's confirmation, he didn't think much and concentrated wholeheartedly. Swoosh! Shi Yin's soul with the blood mark entered the Blood Devil's glabella where it connected directly to the sea of consciousness. It was the most critical area of the warrior's god body. Powers of the sea of consciousness, powers Upanishad, and soul energy had to get through this important locus to diffuse. Blood Devil relaxed. He didn't look worried at all. He was as calm and relaxed as water. He opened his body and his glabella, not setting up any barrier. Shi Yan's soul appeared between Blood Devil's two brows, turning into a faint blood halo. The blood mark expanded like an octopus, which magnified its blood-red lines. Those lines then connected to each of Blood Devil's vessels and bones. The pure soul energy in the mark flooded Blood Devil's sea of consciousness, moving to his tier of powers Upanishad. Shi Yan and Blood Devil had formed a close connection temporarily. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. That blood mark suddenly glowed like blood fireworks. Energy fluctuations of the magical power Upanishad shot out, moving through the bloodlines to enter Blood Devil's sea of consciousness directly. In the next moment, his tier of powers Upanishad, blood, internal organs, soul, and God body started to resonate with some unknown magical rhythm. Boom! Shi Yan heard something echo in his head. He felt a flow of immensely marvelous soul consciousness shot out from his blood mark. One small wisp of that soul consciousness grumblingly fell to Blood Devil's soul altar right on the tier of powers Upanishad, while the other disappeared into Blood Devil's god body. Shi Yan was panic-stricken. He seemed to become an onlooker. He stood aside, silently watching the blood mark automatically precede the inheritance impartation. A waterfall of unknown energy gushed out from the blood vein ring, pouring into the blood mark in his soul. All steps of this operation used the energy of the ring spirit. The ring spirit was the transporter and the blood mark was the leader. Shi Yan didn't need to use his energy or participate in releasing the inheritance. He just needed to stay aside and observe. After Shi Yan's soul altar had been washed with the soul-refining fluid in that space crack, it seemed like the ring spirit had got something good too. It had recovered a significant amount of energy. That was why it could pass the power Upanishad inheritance to exist at Blood Devil's level. Blood Devil was calm. From the beginning to the end, he didn't generate any beam of energy. He had opened his body to Shi Yan and received the power Upanishad inheritance. He didn't protest or resist. Of course, it wasn't that Blood Devil had just stayed put. He could feel it, and he was filled with fear. Imparting power Upanishad wasn't an easy task. Even when a profound realm expert was giving inheritance to a lower realm warrior, it required a lot of efforts and an enormous amount of soul energy. And it wasn't guaranteed that the other could endure the inheritance or not. So, it truly went against the natural order when a lower realm warrior gave inheritance to a higher realm warrior. If Shi Yan didn't insist, Blood Devil would never have let him do something like this. Although his realm was extremely high, he was still afraid of backlash. However, he was worried about Shi Yan more. He was afraid that Shi Yan didn't have the competence and energy to complete the procedure of imparting inheritance. If Shi Yan's soul energy drained, he would die for sure. Blood Devil would regret it so much if this last member of his tribe were gone. However, when the procedure started, Blood Devil was petrified. An enormous soul energy gushed out from Shi Yan's blood mark, which was so dense that even Blood Devil felt terrified. That strange and intimidating soul energy was apparently not from Shi Yan, a second sky of original God Realm warrior. Even if it was a formidably strong soul, it couldn't have such massive soul energy. Blood Devil could confirm immediately that Shi Yan must have some secret that he couldn't know. He must have a terrifying creature which helped him complete the inheritance impartation. Anyway, he didn't know Shi Yan hadn't spent a bit of his energy to do all of these. The ring spirit was in charge of carrying the procedure. The ring spirit had prepared and imparted the inheritance. Shi Yan had just used his blood mark as the transmitter and himself as an observer. After the energy fluctuations of the power Upanishad inside that blood mark had connected his sea of consciousness and crept toward his tier of power Upanishad, Blood Devil was shaken. He stopped thinking too much immediately. The procedure has begun. Inside the blood pool, Blood Devil was soaked in the blood-red liquid, his face grave. He slowly closed his eyes. Shi Yan faced him, his aura long and ancient. Although Shi Yan's soul altar floated above his head, the host's soul was gone, connected to Blood Devil's glabella by a blood thread. Blood Devil slowly diffused a flow of desolate energy, extending forward. Ancient trees around them writhed as if their vitality was forcefully drawn away. Gradually, when the death energy fluctuated and expanded, towering, Massive trees within 100 miles withered, their leaves falling like a rain shower. Branches dried and cracked. Those trees became like dried trees which were dead for years. Within 100 miles, life was cut off. Death meandered and hovered as if it was the icy cold Nine Serenity hell. It even made people's vitality stop moving. After an unknown time, Shi Yin heard the ring spirit calling him feebly. "It's done. You can retrieve your soul." Shi Yin acted immediately. He retrieved his soul through Blood Devil's glabella, returning to his soul altar and making the soul altar go back to his body. "Done?" Shi Yin discreetly sent a message. The ring spirit didn't answer him. Frowning, he couldn't help but look at the blood vein ring on his finger. The ring dimmed, and it didn't have any beam of light. It seemed like the ring had used a lot of energy. The weak ring spirit had quieted down as it didn't have enough energy to reply. Shi Yin knew that it was also difficult for the ring to give the inheritance to Blood Devil this time. Blood Devil bared his chest, soaking in the blood pool. He looked calm and pacific. His eyes closed as if he was sleeping. However, he now had a faint aura of death. Shi Yin could recognize it in one glance. He knew that the ring spirit had succeeded. Blood Devil didn't move. He remained his posture in the blood pool for a very long time. Above the devil blood star, countless stars were twinkling and sending beams of starlight on the ground, illuminating it with a silver tint. Shi Yin immersed in the starlight and checked his body. He found that he hadn't used much energy. The blood mark was still in his soul. It seemed like everything had been done smoothly. He understood that it was the result of the ring spirit using an enormous amount of energy. Shi Yin himself was just a transmitter. Inside the blood pool, Shi Yin quietly watched Blood Devil, his face serious. He didn't know how Blood Devil's condition was, so he was still a bit worried. Suddenly, his eyes brightened as he looked at Blood Devil's glabella. He saw a blood flower bloom in Blood Devil's glabella as if it was about to explode shortly. Shi Yin discolored. He was frightened. His face grimaced. Blood Devil's glabella exploded. A blood flower appeared, slowly changing. A magical mark was gradually formed, which looked like the blood mark Shi Yin had. Slowly, it had developed to the final form, which was identical to the mark Leona, Ka Tua, and Fei Lan had. That mark seemed to be imprinted after Shi Yin had sent his soul into Blood Devil's head. It automatically emerged right in Blood Devil's glabella. After the mark had sufficiently appeared, Shi Yin was astonished at first. Then, he relaxed as he understood something. He suddenly knew that when the warriors received the inheritances from the bloodthirsty's cortege of 8, they would have the same mark in the glabella, which was somehow the symbol of their echelon or status. It also meant that they belonged to one line, and that they were the heirs and heiresses of the powers Upanishads. Blood Devil hadn't recognized the blood mark in his glabella yet. He was still sinking in the mysteries and powers of Death Power Upanishad. In the Sea of Power Upanishad, he silently comprehended the powers Upanishad in the respective tier of his soul altar. At this moment, Death Power Upanishad and Life Power Upanishad in his 4-tiered soul altar had combined into one, just like Shi Yin's. When death and life combines, they could be promoted to the utmost. At this moment, Blood Devil had an in-depth understanding of it. He suddenly recognized that this inheritance from Shi Yin was an incredible, heavenly opportunity. It was the most crucial step for him to get to the peak. When death and life merged with each other, death and life could support each other and make his achievement impressive and head towards perfect conditions. I want to comprehend the powers Upanishad. I won't leave this blood pool quickly. All things regarding management of the Devil Blood Star, I've asked Wu Lan to take care of it. She knows what to do. Closing his eyes, Blood Devil said, "You should consider the Devil Blood Star your home. Don't worry. You and your fellows are safe. No one will have the guts to come here and trouble you guys. And you don't need to go to the far west region to take revenge. The people who attacked you that year in Broken Star Field are all dead. You can ease your mind and cultivate here." Shi Yin was amazed. He then showed his gratitude. "I need time to understand the new power Upanishad." Blood Devil lowered his voice. Shi Yin nodded and then left the blood pool, heading to the grand palaces of the Devil Blood Star. He knew that he wouldn't stay for a long time in Devil Blood Star. Pavilion and Leona were impatient to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison. He also wanted to know if Xia Xian Yin was doing all right there. However, the most important factor was that Shadow Ghostly Prison was an incredibly chaotic area with unceasing fights and wars. In that place, his devouring power Upanishad could be promoted to the utmost, which could help his realm advance and reach the new level of energy accumulation. The Yang family and the Shi family, his beloved family members, were safe in Devil Blood Star. They were secure and they had sufficient materials to cultivate. Shi Yin didn't need to worry about them anymore. This burden of his had been solved. Later on, he could go anywhere freely like a bird soaring into the sky or fish swimming in the vast ocean. Chapter 988, Today. Chapter 988, Today _ Shi Yin returned to the grand palaces in the Devil Blood Star. When Fei Lan and Leona saw Shi Yin, they cheered up and ran towards him. "Where is Master?" Wu Lan also stepped forward, smiling. "He's trying to comprehend power Upanishad. He won't be leaving the blood pool anytime soon. If you want to see him, go to the pool." Shi Yin smiled. "How is the business between Potion and Tool Pavilion and the two precursors going?" "Almost done." Wu Lan smiled and said, "Oh, Master is cultivating his powers Upanishads. It seems like he got something good this time then. He's appointed me to handle the business of Devil Blood Star when he's busy with his cultivation. I know how much Master favors you. If you don't know something in the Devil Blood Star, you can ask me. I'll do my best to help you." "Thank you." "Nah, no need to be so distant. This is our Master's advice. As his servants, we must follow his advice to work. I may have to leave the Devil Blood Star for a while. Yeah, I'm going to arrange something. I hope you will take care of the people I've brought here." Of course. An area of Devil Blood Star. High and grand mountain ranges jutted into the sky, hiding in the clouds. Standing on the mountain flanks and feet were many palaces and buildings with some specialized training courts. This territory used to belong to the dwarf demon tribe. Blood Devil had taken it to prepare a place for Shi Yan's family. This place had abundant earth and heaven energy, indeed. The dwarf demon clan had built those buildings and palaces. The dwarf demon tribe was famous for its skillful craftsmen. Those buildings had cultivating rooms and gardens with herbal fields. There was also a mountain that held a lot of demon beasts. Yangzhua, Longzhu, and the warriors of Raging Flamestar area were working on this mountain. They felt so satisfied with this place. They got many cultivating materials and a high-grade source of power Upanishad inheritance from Potion and Tool Pavilion. Yangzhua, Longzhu, Jester, and Na Xian were so happy that they finally got a place to stay. Now they had no burden in their minds, so they were able to continue their cultivation freely. The Devil Blood Star was Blood Devil's territory. Among the 10 life stars around, it was the most favored one. Not only did it have abundant earth and heaven energy and various types of rich natural resources, but there was also Blood Devil who guarded the place. Staying in this area, they wouldn't need to worry about the enemies. They could continue their cultivation freely, which was something others had to struggle a lot to have. It was evident that Blood Devil had favored Shi Yin, a folk from his tribe a lot. He had spent and given Shi Yan's people prosperous land and was letting them handle it in the ways they liked, which showed how much he loved Shi Yin. Calling for Yangzhua, Jester, Fengku, and Feng Rao, inside a palace built by the dwarf demon tribe, Shi Yin looked at his family members and his good friends with their happy faces. He felt more relaxed than ever. Today, he had finally fulfilled his promise that year. He had found a new life star for people who used to live in the exhausted Grace Mainland. When he departed from Grace Mainland that year, he had gone with the most important mission of finding a life star, a new home for his people. Today, his promise was fulfilled. Looking at the happiness on their faces, Shi Yin felt pleased. "Without you, we wouldn't be here today. You always surprise us." Yangzhua praised with a lot of emotion. "I could have never imagined that you could reach your current level from your low realm that year. Every time I think about it, I feel like I'm dreaming." Longzhu also said, "In Perpetual Night Forest that year, I supported your side because I thought that you could bring a whole new world to human clan. However, I have never thought that my instant decision at that moment could create an incredible warrior later. I remember when you arrived in the Endless Sea, you only had the Disaster Realm cultivation base, Yangzhua said with a smile, but today, you've reached Original God Realm. I would never have imagined in my dreams how much you've brought to us. Boy, you shouldn't be complacent, Shi Jian said with a serious countenance, looking at him. Agate Star area has many experts, including incipient God Realm ones. Since you have extraordinary innate talents, don't lag behind. Listening to his family and friends' encouragement, Shi Yin was touched and relaxed. I want to leave for a while. Contemplating for a while, he said with a smile. I want to go to Shadow Ghostly Prison. I have something to do there. You guys just stay and cultivate in Devil Blood Star. Don't worry. I know your attainment in the future won't be ordinary. Out of his expectations, people didn't ask him anything. They all looked at him encouragingly. You guys, Shi Yin was surprised. You never rest even for a moment. We get used to it. Yangzhua laughed. Maybe the more you travel, explore, and battle, the better you can do to break through and become stronger. We know how you are. We know you don't like the old-fashioned and conservative cultivation ways. Well, even if you say you're going to Shadow Ghostly Prison, we have no doubt that you will succeed. But we heard that Shadow Ghostly Prison is an extreme place. You should be careful. Long Zhu frowned but didn't stop him. Inside the hall, Shi Yin and his fellows were talking happily. They recalled old stories and laughed with each other, having a relaxing moment. Long afterward, Long Zhu and the others excused themselves and left. Only Yangzhua and Shi Jian stayed. This is thousand-fold Lotus. You can merge it with your sea of consciousness. It will benefit the soul altar marvelously. Grandfathers, you two keep it carefully and find the chance to use it. Pondering for a while, Shi Yin took out the blue ice jars and gave 6 refined thousand-fold lotuses to Yangzhua and Shi Jian. Shi Yin got 13 flowers. He sold 3 to Wu Lan, used 1, and saved 3 for Fei Lan, Leona, and Ka Tua. He handed his grandfathers the 6 flowers that remained. Thousand-fold lotus is a great tool to aid the soul and sea of consciousness, but one person should use it all at once. The second use wouldn't be as effective as the first one. Thus, each of you should have 1 lotus. You guys can arrange for these 6 flowers, said Shi Yin. Yangzhua and Shi Jian were astonished. Strange light shot out from their eyes. They knew the value of thousand-fold lotuses. Shi Yin had sold the thousand-fold lotuses to Wu Lan at the price of 8 million divine crystals each. However, they heard that the real price of the flower could be more than 10 million, which was enough to buy 10 gigantic battleships. 10 million divine crystals was an enormous amount in Agate Star area, indeed. 6,000-fold lotuses were equal to 60 million divine crystals. What was going on? Grandpa Yang, Grandpa Shi, you are my family. Of course, I will reserve good things for my family. Shi Yin smiled. Grandpas, I want you two to use the flowers. Next time I see you, I want to see what realm you can reach. Shi Jian and Yangzhua were at peak of spirit realm. They just needed a little more to enter true God realm. If they were in Grace Mainland, they would be on top of the pyramid. But in this Agate Star area, warriors at true God realm in Shi Yan's eyes at this moment were just ants. However, family was always family. Although their realms were low, he would never change his attitude towards them. He had 6,000-fold lotuses. He never thought to give Feng Rao some. He gave Yangzhua and Shi Jian all 6. The 2 old men were happy. They nodded discreetly. No words were needed to express their gratitude. After discussing with Long Zhu, Jester, Na Xian, Tang Yuan Nan, and Yun Hao for a while, he arranged everything before leaving. Hovering in the air, he turned his head to look at the layers of mountains, the palaces, his family, and his friends. Shi Yin felt relaxed. He felt the heavy responsibility he had shouldered finally lift. His family members and friends were appropriately arranged. This was a level 7 life star with abundant cultivating materials and blood devil's care. He'd done what he had to do. He had given them the best conditions to cultivate. He couldn't interfere with their progress, though, so they could only depend on their efforts. Smiling, he turned into a blood mist, dashing towards the center of Devil Blood Star. Some women on the mountain range behind him lifted their heads to watch him, their countenances complicated. Chao Jilan, He Qing Man, and Chu Yin Qing were standing on a rock cliff of a mountain, looking at Shi Yin with lonely visages. They couldn't have anything with Shi Yin. They regretted a little bit. The man that they hadn't laid their eyes on that year now had an earth-shaking achievement. He himself alone had overturned the situation of Grace Mainland. He had brought them from the far Grace Mainland to Agate Star area. He found a perfect place for them to cultivate indeed. At this moment, Shi Yin was distant and strange to them. Even if they could have thicker facial skin, they knew that they would never be people in his class. Even if they wanted to pay instead of getting paid, they didn't have that right. The difference between their realms was like a wide canal that they could never cross. In front of Shi Yin, their pressure was massive. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't be themselves and couldn't feel comfortable. They suddenly understood. If you can hold on to the man when he's poor and weak, when he's finally wealthy, you can only look at him with desire for the rest of your life. You will never be able to touch him. Inside a stone building in another mountain range, Feng Ku and Feng Rao were standing by the window, looking at Shi Yin zooming out. Feng Ku glanced at his daughter and chuckled. Your eyes are always keener than mine. I used to have no clue why you wanted to be with that man. I thought you were just impulsive. But today, you proved your good eyes. Sigh, I can't imagine that he reached such a level. In the future, he will be more dazzling. Do you think you will be pressured even more? Of course, Feng Rao thought, answering softly. Thus, I want to make double efforts. I want to shorten the distance between us. At least, I don't want to lag too far behind. He doesn't have only one woman, right? Frowned Feng Ku. Is it a problem? Feng Rao smiled. A strong, attractive man like him, of course, will attract beauties. Well, people aren't foolish. They can see his incredible features, right? I'm lucky because I have a large place in his heart. Although it's still small, I feel like it's good enough. Feng Rao's line of sight moved further away from where Chao Jilan, He Qing Man, and Chu Yin Qing stood. She lowered her voice, chuckling. Some women would regret it for the rest of their life. They regret that they couldn't have anything with him. Because they were narrow-minded, they couldn't hold on to him when he wasn't good enough. So now, they have to mourn their loss for the rest of their lives. I'm lucky I made the right decision that year. Otherwise, we wouldn't have come to this place. My father and my people wouldn't have been taken care of so nicely. Feng Ku nodded, sighing inwardly. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.